In the beginning of the video, we are introduced to a game called Circuit, an online game currently played by 50 million users, and in its first month of release, it had already reached 400 million users. The only reason why the online game can achieve such great success is because it is touted as the perfect virtual reality game. Even those who initially criticized it as impossible are now busy enjoying the VR within Circuit, including our MC. In his small apartment, he can smell the refreshing scent of the ocean. Our MC, Lee Ki-hoo, is one of the players in Circuit, and currently he is in an area within the game. However, because he was just standing there, other players immediately shouted at him, "Hey buddy, if you're just standing there, why don't you leave? You're blocking our cleaning. As fellow cleaners, don't hinder us." Lee Ki-hoo apologized for this, as he is also a slime cleaner like them. Because of the success of Circuit, money and items within the game have a greater value than in the real world. Currently, there are only 3 ranks of items in Circuit: Normal, Magic, and Rare. Normal items do not have any special abilities, so they are not valuable, and Magic or higher ranked items can have high value. This can happen because there are additional stat points in each item. For example, one Magic rank shield item has an additional 1 point of defense. In this game, players only get a stat point increase every time they level up. So, using an item that has 1 additional stat point is the same as leveling up. Stat points can drastically increase a person's physical strength. For example, if someone uses a ring that adds 3 points, they can have punching power like a professional boxer. Because of this, Magic rank items that have only 1 stat point increase can have a price of up to $10,000. So, what about rare items? This is an item that is still a rumor among gamers because it has never appeared in the game even once and is still a mystery. It is unknown if there is a rank above Magic or not. In other words, Magic rank is currently the highest rank in Circuit. Many low-level players hunt slime relentlessly, hoping to get lucky and find a Magic rank item. They are usually known as slime cleaners. Of course, the percentage of Magic rank items that come out of slime is very low. Lee Ki-hoo has been hunting slime for the past 2 months, but he still has not seen any signs of a Magic rank item. After seeing other slime cleaners who continue to fail to get Magic rank items, Lee Ki-hoo finally decides to leave and heads to Lindolok, a coastal city. He meets a merchant there and intends to sell the slime material he obtained earlier, but he is very surprised when the merchant values the slime material for only 20 silver. The merchant explains that there is already too much material from slime in his city, so the price has dropped drastically. Oh yes, because Nick in the game is named Mose, we call him Mose in-game. Mose looked incredulous because the price had dropped by half in just half a day, but despite that, Mose still sold his materials. After selling his materials, Mose sat on a bench on the outskirts of town. He thought, I only got 20 silver after hunting slime all day. If I convert it to money, it's only around 200,000. Also, the slime population is starting to decline because so many people are hunting them. For the past 2 months, I've been hunting slime hoping for Magic items to appear, and all I've gotten from that is around 5 gold and a beginner's sword that is about to break. The price of a new weapon can reach 5 gold. What a broken game, a trash game that relies on luck. I worked hard for 2 months to gather money to pay for my tuition fees. If I knew it would turn out like this, I should have enjoyed this game like everyone else. Maybe I could have gotten a girlfriend here, or maybe I should have looked for a part-time job during those 2 months. Forget it. But before that, I have the 5 gold I got from playing for 2 months. If I convert it to money, it might be around 5 million. The best thing to do now is to exchange it for money, but it feels too bad to exchange it for real money because I also want to quit. What else should I do? While Mose was thinking about that, his attention was diverted by a noisy voice not far from where he was sitting. There were many people crowding around a merchant, and the players there looked like they were cheering for one of the players who had just bought the merchant's item. It turned out that it was the 8th time that player had bought the merchant's item, but when he opened it, he got a fish called the Sampy's Human Patch, a disgusting looking fish that couldn't be eaten. The players who were crowded there were getting more excited and laughing at the unlucky player. Mose, who was curious about the crowd, approached after seeing the player earlier, and he understood that the merchant's item was like a gacha. The merchant said, even though he could have gotten a good item if he had played a little longer, he still left. Alright, does anyone else want to try? This is your chance to get a good item for only 5 gold, you know. Mose was shocked to hear the price because it was so expensive. The merchant saw Mose's surprise and asked him, "Oh, you over there, are you interested in trying?" "Why not? Just try it." Mose looked nervous because the merchant suddenly spoke to him, but the merchant immediately calmed him down. "Don't worry, I feel something special about you. I can see that great luck is flowing within you. I've been waiting for someone like you to come." Hearing that, Mose was almost swayed by the merchant's sweet words, but the player next to him told him that the merchant had said the same thing to the person before him. Mose's expression became flat, but the merchant laughed out loud, but Mose thought, well, I guess it's okay, and he finally bought the gacha item with his 5 gold. A few moments passed, and Mose, who was relaxing at an inn, was seen staring out the window, thinking about what had happened earlier. Fortunately, he was able to escape from the people who were yelling at him. After buying the item, he also spent the remaining money to rent the inn. He felt a bit sad because it was his last day there. Upon reflection, he realized that he had no remarkable experiences and didn't even have a girlfriend because he was busy hunting slime. Mose decided to open the gacha item first and then exit the game. When Mose was opening the item, he was surprised by the slightly different color that came out of it from what he had seen before. After a few moments of shining brightly, an item called Polola Star with a rare rank and necklace type emerged from the gacha item. This item increased strength by 7 points, vitality by 4 points, dexterity by 4 points, intelligence by 3 points, also increased HP regeneration per second by 17.7 points, and HP regeneration for party members by 4 points in the form of an aura. The maximum range of the item is 250 meters, and it has its own history. When Mose saw the item description, he looked very surprised. We now turn to a streamer named Jihyun, who is the second-ranked circuit TV streamer in Korea. The topic that Yoon will be discussing today on her stream is the hot item. The first item of the day is the item that recently sold for the highest price ever at an auction, which is none other than the Aenis ring. It was sold for $72,000. It is said that this item fell from the Bosch dungeon in the northern region. The greatest thing about this item is the health regeneration effect. Health regeneration is the rarest magic effect of all magic effects, and this accessory sold for a high price of $72,000, breaking a new record at the auction. Its price far exceeded the price of the movement speed ring, which was sold for $63,000 and was even known as the most valuable item of its time. As for the second item, it is said to have an effect that also falls into the tall class. The item is the Landorus Capuan Next Level, with a strength stat of 3 points. It has been proven that the popularity of the strength stat is once again being sold for a price of $39,000. When Mose saw the stream, he thought to himself, wow, I thought events like this were part of a completely different world from the one I live in. At least, that's what I thought until yesterday when everything changed. We turn back to Mose, who is currently shocked by the rare item in front of him. Rare equipment is considered trash in most other games, but it's different in the Circuit, a game that was released only 3 months ago. The most valuable items in that place are magic items, which means that the item in front of Mose could be the first rare item in the game. Mose, realizing this, looked ecstatic, his eyes filled with tears, and he began to thank God for bringing this to him. As he was feeling grateful, suddenly he thought, wait, if I think about it again, how valuable is this item? The value of its effect is indeed at a level that is far different from a standard magic item. In addition, the Hill Dragon user, which is now considered the most valuable stat, is 17.7 per second, and the item can even perform health regeneration on party members. Kisharon is worth at least hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, this item could be worth $1 to $2 million. Tuition fees are not a problem. Not only can I buy a nice house, I might even be able to buy a cool car. Thinking about it made Mose even more excited. He immediately intended to register the item for auction, but before he clicked to list the item, Mose thought of trying to use it. He heard that adding 3 to 5 points of strength would make you feel like a different character. He even worked hard just to kill a slime. If he used the item, becoming a high ranker is not impossible. Wouldn't he be able to play the game like them? Some people might tell him to just sell it, but isn't this a reward that he deserves after trying hard for the last 2 months? Finally, Mose decided to just use it. He could sell it anytime he wanted to. If he looked at his lousy stats before using the item, after he used it, a purple aura started to glow from his body. He suddenly felt pain all over his body and then lay down on the bed. After that, he thought, is this the pain of increasing 18 points of stats? Why do they have to recreate such an object just because this is a virtual reality game? I bet the side effects of releasing this equipment are also extremely painful. Mose took a silver coin from his inventory with one hand and bent it. He looked surprised at his own strength at that time. He now understood why people were so obsessed with items. Because his curiosity was not yet satisfied, Mose got up from his seat and would try it himself. On the other hand, the Continent Center is an area that can make players go to any region easily because the player density in that area is the highest, and players can party and fight easily. The place also has a city which is the headquarters of most players in this game. The name of the city is Asparagon City. When Mose arrived there, he was amazed when he saw the equipment used by the players there. He thought, as expected from a big city like Asparagon, the equipment used by people here is not just ordinary. Was my arrival to this place just a mistake? Honestly, besides the inheritance item, I have nothing but this old sword. I'm sure that hunting in a party won't be easy with my appearance like this. I wonder if there is a decent solo quest. When Mose was looking for a solo quest on the bulletin board, he was surprised by someone behind him suddenly greeting him. Mose turned around and saw that the person who called him was a woman. The woman asked if he was looking for a party. Mose was confused and didn't think anyone would invite him to join their party. When he answered that he was indeed looking for a party, the woman grabbed his hand and happily said, "My party has one empty slot. Are you interested in joining us?" A few moments later, on the other side, 2 people who looked bored were waiting for someone named Sharon. One of them standing seemed worried about missing the raid, but the person sitting next to them reassured them that it was better to wait a little longer for Sharon because she never disappoints them. Right after the person said that, Sharon finally arrived. It turned out that Sharon was the same woman who invited Mose to join her party. The big-bodied uncle who was worried earlier was surprised by Mose. He clearly thought that Mose's equipment was beginner level and his sword looked like it was about to break. When Mose introduced himself, the uncle approached Sharon and whispered to her, "I understand that we're in a hurry, but don't you think the person you brought is still a newbie?" Sharon calmed him down and said, "Don't worry, uncle. He may look like it, but he's the strongest person in the previous area. I was also surprised when I first saw him. He looked like an ordinary newbie, and his equipment made him look old, but he was clearly marked as the strongest person among those around him. My skill, Sharp Eye, which is already level 2, couldn't possibly show a lie. This skill increases observation ability, which is a crucial thing for an archer when focusing. The user can estimate the strength of a person. I used my skill when I was approaching the party city and happened to find Mose. When they were talking, suddenly someone from behind the uncle said, 'Are you all ready?' The uncle immediately turned around and answered, 'Oh yeah, Sir Cecil Borun, our party, consisting of 4 members, is ready.' When Mose heard that name, he looked very surprised. He thought, Cecil Borun? I heard he uses a total of 5 magic items in his equipment. Are we traveling with someone famous like that?" Upon hearing that, Cecil Borun immediately asked his party to gather with another party. After meeting with the other party, Cecil Borun gave a speech, "Great, we can leave now." Everyone, thank you for participating in the raid to conquer the troll led by Silver Guild. The video ended with Mose looking surprised because he was willing to come to the big city like that and was immediately invited to do a raid, especially a raid to conquer a troll monster. Although trolls are low-level monsters, they are very aggressive and have the ability to heal themselves. They are creatures with incredible strength that can destroy a large rock with one hand. These monsters are clearly not opponents to be taken easy. Mose looked hesitant about whether he could do it well. On their way to the raid site, the uncle and one of his party members named Gil explained that the monsters were very aggressive, and they would chase players until they died. In addition, they moved in groups and had weaknesses to fire and magic. Trolls were one of the easier targets, but the most important thing was that they gave money. Mose didn't understand what the uncle meant, but Sharon explained that players could sell materials they obtained from trolls at a high price. Troll blood was an important ingredient for making powerful potions, while their skin and bones could be used to make high-level equipment. Usually, large guilds monopolized control over quests like this, so for ordinary players like them, participating in this mission was lucky. Furthermore, there seemed to be some truth to the rumor about the Silver Guild recruiting new members, which made all the players participating in the raid very excited. However, Gil didn't seem interested in it, as he was already satisfied with getting a few drops of troll blood, which could pay off some of his school debts. When Mose asked if Gil was also a student, Gil confirmed that he was, and he had already paid his tuition fees from playing the game. Mose also said that he was a student who was trying to earn money to pay for his tuition fees. Sharon and the uncle, who was now an ordinary office worker, looked like they were reminiscing about their past when they saw the two of them bonding over being students. A few moments later, one of the Silver Guild members shouted, "Attention, everyone! We will now explain the plan. Those who are far away, come closer. Those who are close, gather around." After all the players gathered, Sissel Borun stepped forward and explained, "I will start giving instructions on how to conquer the trolls. Can you all see your maps? Recently, our guild members have faced danger while setting traps for trolls in several locations. Here's the plan. First, you will lure the troll into each trap, and when it gets caught, we will focus our attacks and finish it off. Trolls run much slower than humans, so with this plan, we can hunt them quickly and safely." After hearing the explanation, players from other parties thought that the plan was reasonable and that famous guilds were indeed different, from their preparations to their plans. However, Mose had a different thought. He wanted to feel the effects of his increased stats, but with a plan like that, he had no chance to fight one-on-one. Gil also felt that the rules were unfair, but according to the uncle, ordinary players like them couldn't do anything while showing their maps. Gil explained to Mose, who looked confused, "Look, none of the Silver Guild members are on the team tasked with luring the troll." The uncle added, "The Silver Guild members might form an attacking team, and they might want to get more contribution points." Sharon also chimed in, "Yes, we should be grateful that they allowed us to join their raid, and who knows, a magic rank item might appear." Mose thought, "So even if you're in the same party, it doesn't mean you'll fight together." The Silver Guild member continued, "And the reward will be automatically distributed according to the contribution points, so please show your skills and try your best." Sissel Borun's instructions were complete, and everyone immediately started their tasks as planned. We switched to one of the parties, let's call it the Ninja Party, who are currently in the area around Point 3. Their task is to find a troll and lure it into a trap. Two members of the Ninja Party were joking around, thinking that their task was easy, not realizing that their third member had been killed by a monster troll behind them. When they turned around upon hearing strange sounds, they were shocked to see their comrade covered in blood in the hands of the monster. At first, they only saw one monster, but they were surprised by the appearance of more monster trolls. Seeing that there were more monster trolls, and hearing them growling and staring at them, the two players ran away in panic, with one of them grumbling, "How could it be easy?" and the other replying, "Damn it, just run in the predetermined direction." After running for a while, they finally saw a Silver Guild member waiting for them behind a bush. The ninja party thought they were safe, but one of the members tried to attack the monster that was chasing them, only to fall into a sticky oil trap, which was a Class T trap that immobilized anyone who touched it and caused a big explosion when it was ignited. Confused as to why they had fallen into the trap, the player who was trapped saw the monster trolls who had been chasing him now standing in front of him, and to make matters worse, his only remaining party member had also been killed by the monster troll. The trapped player panicked, calling for help from the Silver Guild, but instead saw them laughing as he suffered. He realized what was going to happen to him, and it did. Sissel Borund smiled and stepped forward, releasing her magic towards the group of monster trolls. The trapped player could only resign himself to his fate as a large explosion occurred, causing him to perish with the monster trolls. Sissel Borund smiled and put on her glasses, saying, "How foolish. Didn't I tell you from the beginning that this would be a quick and safe hunt? Who's next? Hurry up." We now switch to the Moe's party, who seem to be facing the Bill boss at Black Mountain. Going back a few moments, after Sissel Borund finished her strategy, the Moe's party immediately moved on their way. The uncle boasted that he could kill the monster troll alone, saying that it was too easy. Hearing this, Sharon teased him, saying, "So, can we leave you alone and run away, uncle?" Gil also chimed in, "I'll tell everyone how great you fought before your noble death, uncle." Unbeknownst to them, a monster was watching them from the top of the cliff. When Mose looked in that direction upon hearing a sound, he saw nothing. Sharon saw him turning his head and asked, "What's wrong, Mose?" Pointing to the top of the cliff, Mose said, "Nothing, I just felt that someone was up there." Mose stopped speaking because he saw Sharon staring up in shock. Sharon was stunned because she saw a giant monster troll jumping towards them. Mose and Sharon were unable to react when the troll appeared in front of them, but when it attacked, the uncle quickly defended himself with his shield, but the force of the attack caused him to be thrown backward. In the midst of such a situation, Mose was frozen with fear, petrified, as this was the first time he had ever seen a troll monster with his own eyes, whose form was different from what he had heard. He felt an overwhelming sense of horror, and at that moment, all he could think of was that he would surely die there. But it was different for Sharon. She followed her instincts and kept her distance from the troll. She fired her arrow at it, but it didn't do any significant damage to the monster. Instead, the monster's attention was focused on Sharon. She shouted for the uncle, who had just risen from his slumber, and ran towards the monster. He attacked the troll's chin with the top of his shield and then used his skill, Sil the Best, which was the basic skill of his character class that used a shield. This skill could hit the target and push them back. Because of this, the troll was pushed back, but it quickly reacted by using its legs to withstand the impact and also by holding onto a tree behind it. The monster troll glared at the uncle, but he seemed relieved because he had managed to create some distance from the monster and also saved Mose. Sharon approached the uncle and Mose and asked, "Uncle, are you okay?" The uncle felt that he was okay, but even though he had fought with all his might, there was no damage at all when he attacked the troll. Sharon felt the same way. Her arrow did not affect the monster. Mose, who had calmed down a bit, drew his sword and suggested, "What if we lure it into a trap?" That might work because trolls are usually very slow. However, according to Gil, the troll they were facing was not an ordinary troll because of its appearance and size. This troll was a secret boss for this quest, and the uncle had also heard that it sometimes appeared in the Conquest quest. Gil explained, because monsters usually attack in groups, there are at least 4 trolls in each group, and by looking at the size of this monster, we can differentiate it. Mose asked, "Can we kill it?" and handed a potion to the uncle. Gil replied, "Although I can reduce its regeneration a little, its strength and defense are still very high." The uncle took the potion and drank it, and decided, then there's only one choice, friends. We have to hold it until the Silver Guild arrives, and their party had no choice but to fight and try their best to hold the monster. When the troll attacked again, the uncle and Gil, who were in front of it, immediately ducked to avoid it. Sharon attacked with her arrow, but because the attack did not have any effect, she looked very upset. The uncle, who saw Sharon like that, immediately reminded her not to advance too much and instructed Mose to lure the troll to the back. In the midst of that tense situation, Mose thought, "What am I doing here? These people have been playing together for a long time and they can work well with each other. Moreover, they are players who enjoy this game. On the other hand, I am just a foolish person who repeats pointless work while hoping for luck. For 2 months, I really want to experience a real adventure with these people." Mose, who was daydreaming, almost got hit by the troll's attack, but fortunately, the uncle yelled his name and rushed towards the troll, changing its direction of attack so it didn't hit Mose. After Mose snapped out of his daydream, the uncle shouted again, "Don't be careless, Mose." Mose regained his focus, but there was still doubt in his heart. "Can someone like me change starting from now?" "No, even starting from now is already too late, but I will change now." "Henshin." "Oh, no, I'm not Kamen Rider." Mose made up his mind and steadied his heart. Then, after being sure of his decision, when the troll wasn't paying attention, Mose jumped and slashed the troll's hand with his sword. However, because his sword had become too brittle from continuous use in hunting slime, the attack broke his sword and only grazed the troll. Although he appeared very surprised, he didn't believe that his sword would break. In the critical moments, the troll monster, realizing Mose's attack, immediately counterattacked Mose with its punch. Mose, who was still shocked, couldn't react and was thrown far back by the troll's punch, which reduced his vitality by 20% and destroyed Golden Mose's leadership. Mose lay there motionless. On the other side, Sharon shouted at Gil, who was dazed by seeing Mose being thrown, "He's going that way, move away, fool." Fortunately, Gil was able to react quickly and avoid the troll's attack. Sharon screamed that even one hit would almost kill them. For now, they had to scatter from the area and take turns to lure the troll. "Come on, uncle, let's go." Hearing Sharon's call, the uncle turned back to the troll. Seeing the uncle getting closer, the troll grabbed a tree branch nearby and swung it to attack the uncle. The uncle dodged the attack and then attacked the troll's leg with the sharp end of his shield. The attack successfully injured the troll's leg, but the troll did not let it go. The troll immediately counterattacked. However, the uncle, who was still in the same position, apparently couldn't pull his shield back either because it was stuck or held by the troll. Gil immediately shouted to let the uncle know about the attack coming from the other side. Meanwhile, Mose, who had been knocked unconscious by the troll's attack, had regained consciousness. Although he appeared to be in pain with his head, he couldn't believe that he was still alive. However, what was even stranger was that the necklace on his neck shone, and his stamina had been restored, and all his injuries had healed as if nothing had happened. Mose thought, so this is the HP regeneration that everyone desires? Feeling the effect working firsthand is truly amazing. However, his thoughts were interrupted by Gil's shout. When he turned around, he saw the uncle holding the troll's attack with his shield. Mose thought, "Oh, this is dangerous," and he also shouted to call the uncle, whose body was trembling violently as he struggled to hold the attack. Unable to hold it any longer, the uncle shouted at Sharon to attack the troll immediately. Upon hearing the uncle scream, Sharon, who had been concentrating all this time, released her arrow. The arrow flew quickly and hit the left eye of the monster troll accurately. However, instead of retreating, the monster troll attacked the uncle blindly. The uncle, who was hiding behind his shield, seemed unable to hold out any longer. Fresh blood began to flow from his mouth, and at that moment, he thought, "Oh damn, is this the end?" In the midst of his despair, Mose suddenly ran towards the monster troll, intending to crash into it with his body. Unexpectedly, when Mose collided with the monster, it was thrown far away, leaving Gil surprised and disbelieving. Mose had just defeated such a big monster by crashing into it with his body. In the midst of Mose's confusion, Gil called his name, and Mose looked at him and asked, "Is he okay?" Gil replied, "I'm fine, but the uncle doesn't look okay." After Gil said that, the necklace worn by Mose shone again, emitting a light that reached Gil and the uncle who was lying there. Seeing the light, Gil realized that it was a healing skill. Apparently, it was one of the abilities of the necklace that Mose had. It was a healing area for his party. The uncle, who had been lying there, was now conscious again, and with a foolish face, he asked, "Hey, all my wounds have healed, and the healing is quite fast." Sharon, who saw all of this from afar, approached Mose and asked, "This is a healing area skill. What are you?" Mose just laughed awkwardly at the question. The uncle then realized one thing, that Mose was not an ordinary beginner. In the midst of this awkwardness, the monster troll that had been thrown away stood up again and roared. All eyes were focused on the monster troll. Sharon immediately prepared her arrow and shouted, "He's back. This time, I'll shoot the back of his head." The uncle threw his sword to Mose and said, "Mose, it's time for us to finish him off." Mose caught the sword and ran towards the monster troll, then jumped and swung his sword. We now turn to Sissel Borun, the Cast Guild Master, whose inventory was now very full. If it stays like this, getting $100,000 in 10 minutes is not impossible. Sissel Borun smiled wickedly, thinking about it. The troll suggestion quest could only be accepted if 120 players participated. However, the Silver Guild only had 40 members. Sissel Borun used this quest as an excuse to gather people, and it was easy to gather 80 people. Her guild also included some famous people to make it more convincing. The game was based on player contributions after completing quests, called the auto-distribute system. The distribution of rewards would be heavily influenced by the difference in player contributions, and so if Sissel Borun destroyed all 100 players at once, she would get the highest distribution points. Sissel Borun thought that the impact would be significant because she would disappear from the factory for a while, and if she pretended to be good to everyone afterwards, she could make the problem disappear as if it had never happened. That's how the world worked, according to Sissel Borun. However, all of Sissel Borun's plans were shattered when he received a notification that his quest had been completed. Sissel Borun appeared very surprised when he read that the main objective of his quest was to conquer the troll leader Black Mountain, as this was the first time he had heard of the troll leader Black Mountain. All the players who participated in the raid began receiving notifications that the quest had been completed and the auto-distribution system was running. The party with the highest confirmation was party number 13, which surprised Sissel Borun as he did not contribute the most. The video ended with a notification that a swordsman had been named MVP and given the special title of Just Withdraw My Left Hand, while Mose received a special gift for having the highest healing contribution, and the member with the highest damage was also Mose. The story continues. Sissel Borun was seen badly injured and gasping for breath. He was not only out of HP but also out of mana. Sissel Borun couldn't believe why everything had turned out this way, and all his Silver Guild members were now lying dead in front of him. Initially, Sissel Borun planned to find party number 13, which he believed had taken his contribution. However, his plan did not go smoothly, and while he was contemplating it, a group of people approached him. One of them said, "So here you are hiding, Sissel Borun? Seeing a famous ranker hiding like a cornered rat, you are truly embarrassing." Sissel Borun, who was in the corner, asked, "Damn it, why is the Dark Guild doing all of this? What do you want from me?" The players from the Dark Guild reasoned, "Don't you already know? Aren't you the mastermind behind the Troll Conquest incident? Just give up, you will die here." With that, the Dark Guild members killed Sissel Borun on the spot. Now, let's turn to Mose, who was in the Asparagus Square. He was seen entering a shop, but when the shopkeeper asked what he was looking for, Mose looked around and took something out of his pocket while producing a ring. He said he wanted to use the auction house. Let's rewind a few hours before, when their party had successfully defeated the troll leader Black Mountain. The monster had dropped a very large core, which is an item that falls from defeated monsters, similar to a treasure chest. There are different types of cores based on the monster, and the stronger the monster, the larger the core that will drop, and the higher the chance of obtaining good items. This is the basic principle of playing the circuit. This was the first time Mose had seen such a large core drop, and Sharon suggested that Mose should be the one to open it as he had contributed the most to the party. Uncle and Gil also agreed, so Mose stepped forward to open the core. Sharon, Uncle, and Gil looked anxious for the rewards that might come from the core. When Mose touched the core, it glowed, and a notification appeared. The rewards they received were Black Mountain Bone, Black Mountain Circular Steel Shield, Circular Steel Sword, Argon Mountain Boots, and Argon Mountain Strange. The items were distributed based on the level of contribution. Uncle, Sharon, and Gil looked very happy with their gifts, just as much as Mose's gift couldn't compare to catching slime all day. We switch back to the present where Mose will list the items he acquired at the auction, but he looks confused. Mose thinks, is this amount correct for the starting price of its rank? In the real world, it's around 80 million. I've already set the price because the price of magic items fluctuates depending on their type and effect. Recently, the prices of items have been decreasing. I'll just do it, please let there be many high bidders. Finally, Mose lists his item. Some time passes, and now Mose is at a hotel, but he still thinks about the item he auctioned. But this magic item, maybe number 82, is too cheap. Should I raise the price a little more? Oh no, I've already listed it, there's no use regretting it now. I'm also afraid that if I set the price too high, the market price will fall. This item has an additional attribute of 1 point of strength, so 80 gold is reasonable. I'm tired. If I think about it again, a lot has happened today. I defeated a troll boss while hunting with my first party, obtained many good items, and even made my first game friend. If I didn't get this rare necklace from the gacha, what would have happened to me? With that, Mose finally logs out of the game because he has played for too long. Shortly after logging out of the game, he receives a message on his smartphone from his mother asking about his well-being and if he had eaten well. As a precaution, she had transferred some money to Mose's account. Mose smiled as he read his mother's message and replied, "Mom, don't worry. I'll get paid from my side job tomorrow, so you don't need to send me money." After sending the message, a new message arrived informing Mose that a certain amount of money had been automatically withdrawn from his account, $65 for monthly IndyHome rent and $35 for overdue rent. Mose appeared upset about this. He had just received money from his mother, but his balance was immediately used to pay bills. However, the next message that came in made Mose jump in surprise. Initially, he thought his balance would be used to pay more bills, but it turned out that his account balance had increased. Mose laughed joyfully as he looked at the amount in his account. He was now certain that his future was here, in the circuit. Earning $30,000 in a day was not impossible. After a while, Mose was seen coming out of the official Korean branch office of the circuit. After withdrawing his money, he prepared to focus on the game. He took another semester off from college, sent money to his mother, bought fitness equipment, and bought powder from the circuit office. Mose planned all this after selling his items. Powder is a nutritional supplement for players who cannot eat while playing the game. When a player eats in the game, the VR machine will release the powder into the air, and the nutrients from the powder will be absorbed into their skin. It is the most suitable item for VR games that allows players to continue playing without needing to eat. Nevertheless, of course, the best thing is to log out of the game and eat real food while walking home. Mose looked at the circuit game community on his smartphone, but he was surprised to see that his nickname was trending and that there was an article saying that a player named Shield had died. An article stated that a guild nicknamed Artwork Trinity is searching for themselves and offering 500 gold for information about themselves. Mose, who saw this, couldn't understand why Sissel Borun died and why someone was offering 500 gold to find themselves. Mose's mind began to process what would happen to him if he logged into the circuit game. Maybe there would be many guilds that wanted to recruit him, or maybe many people wanted to duel him, or an assassin who wanted to kill him for profit. Mose's head was about to explode thinking about all the things that would happen to him, so he immediately rushed back to his apartment. But one thing was for sure, he didn't want it to happen because if it did, his freedom in the game and his future would be ruined. After arriving at his apartment, he immediately took a position to log in. He decided he had to get out of Asparagon City as soon as possible because this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that he couldn't waste. He would go far from Asparagon City. But before he left, he met a blacksmith first and took an order for equipment made from Black Mountain. One of the equipment is a Black Mountain trap with magic rank. The set effect is an additional 8 points in strength, 9 points in vitality, 3 points in dexterity, 118 points in defense, as well as the effect of 3 pairs and 5 pairs of heels trail 14 and 5 points, and also 11 points in strength. When Mose was amazed by the equipment, the blacksmith explained that during his 20 years as a craftsman, he never thought he had a chance to make such equipment. Mose thought, well, at least he should have decent equipment to start the adventure. Mose thanked the blacksmith for making such a great equipment. Fortunately, the blacksmith was also very happy to get such good material. This is the first time for him. After saying goodbye, Mose started his adventure, or so he thought, but he got lost somewhere. When he thought of resting and sitting under a tree, he accidentally saw a strange stone in front of him with wind blowing from under the stone. Curious, Mose held the stone and accidentally pressed it. The ground shook for a moment and a cave door opened in front of him. While Mose was surprised, a notification appeared stating that Mose was the first player to discover this dungeon, the Black Root Cave. Without hesitation, Mose entered the dungeon. However, since it was too dark inside the dungeon, Mose took out all the items from his inventory named Bell Sex Luminous Stone, an item that can emit light when the player presses it hard with a range of 15 meters and a duration of 30 minutes. As Mose went deeper, the place became darker, making him more nervous. After walking for a while, Mose finally found an inscription stone with an ancient writing that said, Moryudanori and skull-cursed words imprisoned us, the shadow of death surrounded our troops, bringing with it disgusting blood. We, who fought to defend ourselves, fell under the curse and died dishonorably. However, without realizing it, as Mose was reading the inscription, skeleton monsters started to appear behind him. When Mose turned around, the skeletons were already approaching him. Mose thought, ha ha ha, I did expect something to happen, but isn't this too much? Reluctantly, Mose had to fight dozens of skeletons. He kept swinging his sword over and over, but the skeletons seemed endless in that condition. Mose thought, oh damn, this is endless. I don't have a fighting class type, and I haven't even learned how to use a sword, but I can fight this many skeletons. Mose, who was constantly cornered, couldn't hold back the skeletons that kept coming, until at one point the skeletons jumped and swarmed him like a pile of dirt. But in that critical moment, suddenly a big explosion occurred. Mose's power came out like an explosion due to stats that he could never obtain based on his level. This is the synergy created from the rare rank accessories, armor, and weapons. After the explosion, only a few skeletons were left standing, and Mose smiled as he saw it. He then prepared himself with his sword and fought again to end the battle. After a while, Mose managed to defeat all the skeletons there, and he caught his breath. Shortly after, a notification appeared saying that Mose had leveled up, and Mose was overjoyed. He had only defeated trash monsters, but he managed to level up twice. However, in the midst of his joy, Mose was startled by the sound of a monster's roar from the corridor behind him. Immediately, Mose turned around and prepared his sword. Mose remained silent for a few moments, but since no monster came out from there, he decided to explore the corridor. He was curious about what he heard and thought, does this place have other monsters besides skeletons? Is the sound coming from here? Mose continued to explore the hallway, smelling a foul odor that pierced his nose. In front of him, there were many human corpses scattered about. Mose thought that perhaps the stench was coming from these bodies after passing through an area that smelled very foul. He found another inscription after climbing the stairs, which read, "I hate them, I hate the Imperial soldiers for burning our village in the name of seizing our supplies, for ruthlessly killing my family, a life without honor, a traitor, a coward who fled without obeying the Emperor's orders. You destroyed our village while showing faces like demons. That's why I, Moryuda, the shaman of this village, have cursed you, a curse that will make you never be able to leave this place, wandering in agony forever, even after you die and become a group of skeletons, Moryuda Ivory Squad." After reading the inscription, Mose thought, wait, this is really different from what I saw before, knowing that the Empire imprisoned, killed, and even burned the village itself. How foolish and dishonorable. Suddenly, a notification appeared, Rank B Clash Quest, subdue the traitors in the sealed team by uttering the cursed phrase. Without hesitation, Mose immediately uttered the cursed phrase he had read before. After saying the phrase, a gust of wind blew, and a heart appeared in front of the inscription, followed by interlocking bones, which had transformed from a heart into a fully armored monster with a skull face. The monster screamed like a human, Moryuda Ivory Skull, curse them all. How dare he accuse me with those disgusting words? Rather than letting him starve to death, I should have stepped on and crushed his organs with my own hands and feet. Are you the one who freed me by uttering the cursed phrase? Seeing the monster, Mose immediately retreated and kept his distance. However, Mose could not hide his fear, his hands trembled with nervousness. Mose answered, "Yes, you are guilty of robbing an innocent village." Hearing Mose's answer, the monster immediately rushed towards him and swung its fist. Facing the attack, Mose could do nothing but be thrown back far away. The video ended with the monster looking angry, saying, "Who are you to dare to judge me, you insolent, impudent fool? Don't think you can come back alive from here." At the beginning of the video, there was a unique monster with its own name, such as the troll monster boss previously named Black Mountain, and they were stronger than regular monsters, with very different abilities. However, even though Mose knew this information, he did not expect the named monster to be so strong. Because of the previous Giratin monster's attack, Mose's HP was below 20%. With a struggle, Mose tried to stand up again, thinking, damn, this won't be easy again. But it doesn't matter. As long as I can hold out a little, I can heal myself. Even if my whole body is in pain, I can immediately heal it with the Regent item effect. The necklace worn by Mose glowed again, healing his HP. Giratin, who saw Mose rise again, looked very surprised and attacked again, shouting, "Hey, human, what kind of magic are you using?" Giratin again swung his fist at Mose, but this time Mose could see his attack was too slow. Quickly, Mose reacted, avoiding the attack, and then standing in front of Giratin, he swung his sword and counterattacked. Mose's attack succeeded in making Giratin fall. The strong strength, vitality, and dexterity of Mose's equipment allowed him to move as he pleased. With these abilities, Mose could defeat a monster named Giratin, whose level was 10 times higher than his own. Mose thought, oh, so this is what it feels like to have powerful equipment like the green Dioper gear. If I had this, I could win. The monster, Giratin, rose up again, looking increasingly irritated. Perhaps my body is cursed, but I never thought I would fall against a newbie like you. I will kill you and rip your body apart, freeing myself from this cursed body, Giratin threatened. However, Mose seemed unfazed by Giratin's ranting and immediately ran towards him. Seeing this, Giratin continued, how dare a lowly insect like you attack me without knowing your own weakness? I will show you the difference in our strengths. Suddenly, in front of Giratin, a magic circle appeared, and in the center of it was a black sword. Seeing this, Mose stopped in his tracks, appearing surprised. After Giratin called his sword, his level increased. Without hesitation, Giratin attacked Mose with lightning speed, not once but twice, leaving Mose stunned and rolling on the ground. Despite this, Giratin still seemed angry that he could not split Mose's body in two because of his cursed body. This is very frustrating. All your efforts are in vain, human. I will end your life, you lowly creature, Giratin said. On the other hand, Mose, who had been attacked, still seemed able to hold on. He thought, damn, that hurt a lot. If I weren't wearing this equipment, I would have died 20 times by now. But I'm different from before. My HP is now 300, and my HP regeneration per second is more than 100. This means that as long as I can hold on for 3 seconds without dying, I can recover. I never thought that the necklace I got from Overlook would have such a big impact. After a few seconds, Moses' HP was fully restored, and he rose up again, ready with his sword. Seeing this, Jiritan asked, "How can you rise up again, even after receiving my sword attack?" Mo smiled and explained, "Of course. This is a golden opportunity for me. I will continue to rise up, and I will even defeat you, avenging the villagers who died in vain." Hearing this insult, Jiritan became even angrier and swung his sword again. Mose blocked the attack with his own sword, but struggled to hold it back because of Jiritan's immense strength. Mose thought he would wait for an opportunity to attack and then tilt his sword to get out from under Jiritan's sword pressure. Mose then jumped forward and slashed Jiritan with his sword. The attack inflicted some damage, and Mose continued with a series of combos. At one point, Jiritan felt cornered and swung his sword back at Mose, but Mose remained calm as if he had already calculated everything. A few seconds before Jiritan's sword hit him, Mose swung his own sword and cut off Jiritan's hand. Taking advantage of the momentum, Mose then comboed it by cutting both of Jiritan's knees. As he had lost both of his jelly-like legs, Jiritan immediately fell down, then Mose pointed his sword at him and said, "That's enough, Jiritan." Even in his current condition, Jiritan still could not accept his defeat. He yelled, "How could this be? Who are you really? Are you a creature blessed by Belika, or a descendant of Ander who has opened the chaos of the dead? How can you match me? I am Jiritan, a former sword warrior and the golden predator of the honored Imperial Army." Mose could not believe what he heard and replied, "Honored? A sword warrior? What is that? You are just a lowly killer who has stained the honor of an emperor." Jiritan was not willing to be called a killer, especially by a beginner who did not understand the duty of a soldier. However, Mose still did not believe him and asked, "Duty of a soldier? Is attacking a village and slaughtering its people a soldier's duty?" Jiritan argued that they had no other choice. They were starving at that time, and during the war, their soldiers did not even receive adequate assistance. They, who were almost dying of hunger, sought help from the village they had protected, but they were treated like criminals and were driven out. They did not appreciate their protection, like an ungrateful insect daring to attack Imperial soldiers. Mose was ashamed, but he was also furious. He glared at Jiritan and said, "You asked earlier if that was a soldier's duty, right? At least I know that's better than people like you. I have been enlisted in the military for 2 years, we who have sworn allegiance to the country and the people." After saying that, Mose lifted his leg high and chopped off Jiritan's head to release all of his emotions. After cutting it down, Mose turned around and walked away, leaving it behind. Although we can see Mose doing something cool here, he is actually very embarrassed because he said something embarrassing. But he was surprised by a notification in front of him that he had leveled up 6 times. Mose also received an achievement called He Who Obtained the 11 Swords, which increased all stats by 2 points. In the middle of Mose's surprise, he heard a voice behind him. When he turned around, he saw a large, red-colored core not far from him. Mose approached the core, feeling that this core was different from the others he had seen. After Mose touched it, the core shone brightly, and many incredible items emerged from it. Mose was overjoyed to see all the treasure, but as he was putting all the items into his inventory, his attention was diverted by a sword standing not far away. Mose thought it was the weapon Jiritan used, but when he got closer to the sword, he was surprised once again by a notification in front of him. The notification explained the sword's description, which was called Engraved 11 Swords Sharma, with a unique rank, a long sword type, made by Lavagar, weighing 11.8 kilograms, adding 19 points to the strength stat and 14 points to the dexterity stat. The one-handed attack damage was 211 to 231, while the two-handed attack damage was 284 to 341. When the engraved skill was activated, the engraving would automatically stick to the user's main hand and disappear after use. During the engraving process, the summon skill would be automatically learned and could be used to summon the sword around the user. What made Mose even more surprised was that the sword had a unique rank, the Pola Maken, which contained a small number of famous Orma coil seeds. While Mose was amazed at the magical rank currency, the servant reminded him, "Oh, just for your information, I suggest you be careful for now, because everyone in this town is trying to uncover Mose's identity. There's a group in this game called the Dark Guild, and they usually kill and rob regardless of whether their victims are players or NPCs." Hearing this, Mose thought he had to be very careful in the future. A few moments later, while Mose was walking in the town, he heard players talking about him and even intending to rob him if they met him. Mose thought this situation was more serious than he expected. "I have no choice but to hide for a while, but there are limits. If I just wear a simple robe like this, I need something better." When Mose was thinking about it, suddenly an idea came to his mind. After a few moments, he began to visit a workshop to find an armor that covered his whole body, something strong. Hearing Mose's request, the blacksmith said that the price would be very expensive, but Mose didn't care about the price and asked the blacksmith to show him the item. Hearing this, the blacksmith immediately pulled out an equipment armor in front of Mose. Mose thought it was very shiny, and it would be hard for someone to recognize him when he wore it. When the blacksmith was about to explain the item, Mose asked confidently, "How much is it?" The blacksmith replied, 200 gold. "I know it's too expensive, but this is my best work in my life, where I won first place in the contest." The blacksmith stopped talking when he saw a pile of gold coins in front of him. Mose calmly said that he would take all 5 of the equipment, and the blacksmith stopped his nonsense talk as he saw the pile of gold coins in front of him. Moses casually said that he would take all 5 pieces of equipment, and the blacksmith was stunned to see all the gold coins in front of him. Now let's switch to a dark elf girl who was wandering in an urban alley when she was suddenly approached by a man who asked her, "Are you on a mission, Kia?" The dark elf girl was indeed named Kia, and the man talking to her was named Pyran. Kia answered Perrin's question while continuing to walk past him. Pyran smiled and offered to help her if she needed it, but Kia seemed to ignore him. She kept walking and said, "I don't want to carry any burden beside me, especially with someone who needs a month to complete one mission." Pyran replied, "You're playing hard to get, you low-life dog." Upon hearing the insult, Kia quickly turned around and pointed her sword at him in the middle of that situation. Pyran said, "Ha ha ha, you're quick as usual. Please calm down, or do you want to kill your colleague who is also on a mission?" After hearing Perrin's words, Kia put her sword back and walked away, telling Pyran, "You have to be faster next time, Pyran. Keep your sword and your dirty mouth for a stanny." After saying that, Kia threw a stone from her hand, and a portal appeared in front of her. After Kia entered the portal, it disappeared. Then Pyran took out a scroll from his pocket and continued, "By the way, damn it, where is it hidden? I can't even find a clue. Where is this power scale?" Mose was seen riding a horse-drawn carriage, accompanied by someone he had saved before. Mose saved the person when he was almost killed by a monster, and the person thanked Mose and invited him to ride on his carriage on their journey. They chatted a bit, and the uncle asked Mose if he was a student because he looked young. Mose confirmed it and explained that he started paying for his own tuition, so that's where he is now. The uncle was sure that Mose's parents would be happy to know that their child could be independent by paying for his own tuition. Mose then asked how the uncle could enter the circuit game, and the uncle looked sad as he explained, "It's a long story, but after I was fired, I opened a fried chicken restaurant. Although it eventually went bankrupt, I heard from people that it's not a bad job, so I tried it. The scale of delivering fabrics is quite large, so I would have lost a lot if the monster had attacked me earlier. Do you have a destination in mind?" Mose thought that maybe he could decide his next destination, and upon hearing Mose's answer, the uncle decided, "Okay then, after you decide, I'll give you a ride wherever you want to go." However, Mose seemed reluctant to let the uncle do it. Mose did not want to disturb the uncle's work, but the uncle insisted firmly, "Don't worry, it feels like traveling with a tough bodyguard." "Well then, let's meet again sometime. There's a fountain in the center of Silver Valley, so let's meet there next time." They arrived at their destination after bidding farewell to the uncle. Mose got off the cart and walked away. As he was walking, a notification appeared in front of him informing him that his equipment needed repair. Seeing the notification, Mose thought, it needs repair. I guess I'll do some equipment maintenance first." After a while, Mose found himself in a workshop watching the blacksmith repair his equipment. He thought to himself, getting the Giraton seal isn't bad and everything is going well. I understand that it's a hidden quest, but why is the activation condition so random? I've searched everywhere for information about it, but I can't find anything. Ah, damn, it feels like I've hit a dead end. After the blacksmith finished repairing his equipment, Mose left the workshop, thinking he should meet the uncle first and decide on his next destination. However, as Mose was walking to the place mentioned by the uncle earlier, he saw many people gathered around the street he was passing. Curious, Mose approached the crowd only to find that they were watching a heinous act being carried out by a red brown-haired man with 2 guards. He was stepping on a player while constantly scolding him, "Didn't I tell you I hate people who are late? Do you think my clan is easy, huh? Tell me." Seeing this, people started talking about it. Because he was a little late in delivering the goods, he was treated like this. I can't believe that the red-haired guy is their heir. Why does the heir of the Pauli clan always cause trouble? Where is the Holy Knight? Why haven't they put this cruel man behind bars yet? As the red brown-haired man was about to throw a punch, it turned out that the one being treated cruelly was the uncle. Seeing this and hearing the talk of the crowd who was rebuking him, Mose stepped forward and stopped what the red brown-haired man was about to do. Mose stared at the man sharply and asked, "Is being a little late the only reason to beat someone up like this?" Although his hands were trembling as he held them, the red brown-haired man immediately released him and threatened Mose, "You bastard. Do you know who I am? In Silver Valley, everyone has to listen to me. And if you ruin my mood by coming late, you deserve to be beaten. If you can't accept my reason, you can just take my punch. Feel this." The red brown-haired man immediately threw a punch at Mose. However, Mose easily dodged it because it was not Mose who attacked first. Therefore, he quickly defended himself by retaliating with his fists. The attack caused the red brown-haired man to be thrown far back, destroying a nearby cart against the wall. After the counterattack, Mose immediately asked about the condition of the man. The people there were surprised by what Mose had done because he had hit the heir of the Paul clan. They wondered if Mose was crazy. Shortly after, someone arrived with his guards. He shouted, "You scoundrel! Don't you know that I am Mori Valley? How dare you hit my son? Piton, attack him!" Upon hearing his master's command, the guard stepped forward and drew his sword. He glared at Mose and shouted, "You scoundrel! How dare you hurt the young lord? In the name of the Silver Valley Knights, I will punish you. Die!" Piton charged at Mose. Seeing the attack, Mose summoned his sword, Sharma. He quickly blocked the sword's attack, even though Piton tried to overpower him with his strength. Instead, Piton himself was thrown far back, and he fell on top of Samori's son, who had just regained consciousness. Both of them were knocked out at the same time. Seeing this, Mori ordered Piton to fight again. He shouted, "Hey, Piton! What are you doing? Get up! With this weak strength, how can you still call yourself a knight?" Seeing Mori's anger, Mose immediately pointed his sword at him and said, "Your turn now." Seeing his extraordinary actions, one of the residents there assumed, "Is that armor? Could it be Ward the 14 Holy Knight?" And it was from this misunderstanding that the residents began to support Moses' actions. No wonder he's so strong. They finally came here to conduct an investigation. Oh, a knight with spirit. Not only did the residents praise him, but they also began to report the cruel actions they had experienced. This Mori villain has taken all of our income as taxes. our father was executed because of a tax problem. In the name of Bellica, please bring him to justice." Although Mose did not know what the 14 Holy Night was, after seeing the reactions of the residents, he took advantage of it and asked Mori, "Is everything I just heard true?" Mori, stuttering, explained that that's not true. "Yes, it's just anticipation if hunger happens everywhere." Hearing Mori's strange reason, Mose emphasized, "If that's the case, what if I visit your mansion right now and conduct a search from top to bottom?" Mori, who was afraid, immediately prostrated himself before Mose, saying, "Forgive me, my lord. I have committed a serious crime. Please spare my life." Mose was silent for a moment, then he decided, "All right, since you have admitted all of your mistakes, I will not execute you, but give all of your money to the residents here." Hearing this, Mori replied that he would do it. After saying that, a notification appeared in front of Mose. "Due to the rumor, your popularity has increased by 2874 points. Also, Mose, who has completed the hidden quest Tyrone of the Valeri family, will receive a clue to obtain a rare class accidentally and also increase popularity. The hidden quest has been activated. The clue to obtaining a rare class goes to Falup, a city on the border of Mose's continent." Mose began to look surprised by all of the applications. He didn't expect to get so many points. He also received another hidden quest. On the other hand, 2 cloaked people were watching the events from a hill near the city. Seeing everything that Mose did, they talked about it. An engraved sword. "It's been a long time since I've seen someone use that type of sword." The person next to him replied, "Master Care, you won't punish him even though he dared to imitate and claim to be one of us, right?" Master Care explained, "Punishing an adventurer? Relax. Don't you remember that the Sky Prophet said that the role of the adventurer is to make this world a better place, and as you can see, our job has decreased thanks to the adventures." The person next to Master Care agreed, "That's true, but what kind of adventurer is he?" Master Care continued, I don't know, but I'm sure he's Mose, someone who has been in the rumors lately. He seems to be very famous." Someone next to Master Care muttered, "Adventurer Mose, it seems like we have to keep an eye on him from now on." Let's go back to Mose. It seems he is opening his map and has decided on his next destination, which is the city of Falup. Time passes in the border city between continents, Falup, and in front of the Falup agency office, Mose is seen lying down, exhausted and frustrated as he has not found any clues, despite searching for them for several days. Upon arriving at the hidden class in Falup, unlike the regular class, they have hidden powers or specific knowledge that can only be obtained by chosen individuals. They are so rare that there is no information about the hidden class on the circuit forum, which is surprising since Mose did not even receive anything from the guest information. He briefly thought, should he search all over the city? In the midst of confusion, while looking at the quest information board, his attention was distracted by several elves passing by. Mose was surprised to see them there, as it was a completely new experience for him. As he was admiring the elves, suddenly someone bumped into him from behind, making Mose annoyed, but the person who bumped into him scolded him instead. Mose, who was already irritated, cursed the person, saying, "I hope you trip like a stupid cat," and suddenly there was a loud explosion in front of him. Seeing the explosion, Mose thought, "Wow, the wind is so strong," but it turned out that the explosion came from the person who had bumped into him earlier. This time, Mose was thrown quite hard into a wall by the attack of someone, and instead of worrying about his condition, the person was concerned about his scattered money. When the person tried to retrieve his money, someone stepped on it sharply and pointed at him, saying, "You scammer, how dare you cheat and try to escape?" It turned out that the man was the same man from the video we saw earlier. Seeing this in front of him, Mose thought, "Who is that very strong-looking person? But is that ring, perhaps?" Mose's eyes focused on the ring worn by Pyran, who was pointing at the scammer. The scammer, who did not accept being humiliated like that, took out a belt from his clothes and charged at Pyran in front of him, but Pyran quickly killed the scammer with his sword. Despite this, Pyran still seemed upset because the scammer had wasted his time. Seeing the actions of Pyran, people there screamed, and Mose was also shocked because he could not see his movements at all. When Mose was curious about the man, a notification appeared informing him that he had completed the clue about the rare class, and that to obtain the hidden class of sorter, he had to talk to the man in the black robe or Pyran. While watching the black-robed man leave, Mose thought, rare class? Sorter? Without hesitation, Mose followed the black-robed man, and that night, when Mose was tailing the black-robed man in a small alley, he thought, this is just my guess because I saw it from afar earlier, but surely that person's ring is exactly the same as the Jiritan seal ring. By the way, didn't the distance before explain that his class was a sorter? Who would have thought that killing Jiritan in the cave would lead to this hidden class? Am I really blessed with high luck? Huh? He disappeared. Without realizing it, Pyran whom he had followed had disappeared from his sight, and when Mose was confused, Pyran pushed him from behind and dragged him into the alley they had passed earlier. After being dragged roughly, Pyran threw Mose to the ground and pointed his sword at him. Pyran looked at Mose sharply and asked, "Who are you, you pesky follower?" This necklace, where did you get it?" Pyran's attention immediately shifted when he saw the necklace Mose was wearing. "Explain to me where you got it." "Someone like you is not worthy of having it," he said. Mose stuttered as he replied, "I got it from Gacha." Upon hearing Mose's answer, Pyran swung his sword and attacked, causing Mose's HP to drastically drop below 5%. Pyran asked angrily, "Do you think I'm joking?" Mose explained while gasping for breath, "I'm serious. Actually, I bought one of the pieces of ruins from an old man in a village called Pandora." Pyran grabbed Mose's armor and asked, "What did the old man look like?" Mose continued, "He was an old man with a white beard and hair, wearing a cloak." After hearing Mose's explanation, Pyran fell silent for a moment, then released Mose. Pyran smiled and thought to himself, "So he's in Lindolok." After a few seconds passed, Mose, whose HP had fully recovered, asked Pyran, "Who is he really?" Pyran explained, "He is a special class, a criminal, Lero the Gambler. I was assigned to track him down because he knows the secret behind one of the 4 mysteries of the Asparagan continent, the disappearance of the Angelus Cavalry. This was a mystery where the Angelus Cavalry, once known as the strongest army on the continent, disappeared when they were about to go to war. Afterward, an investigation team was formed to search the area where they were last seen, but all they found were ruins that appeared out of nowhere. The necklace you're wearing is the necklace of Polo Run, the executive commander of the Angelus Cavalry." Upon hearing the explanation, Mose still could not believe that the merchant he met in Lindolok was a criminal, and he had no idea what the Angelus Cavalry was. If Pyran had not explained it to him, he would never have known. As he held his necklace, Mose thought to himself, "I already knew this was a special item, but I never thought it was this special." Pyran glanced at Mose, who was admiring his necklace, and said, "Your wound has healed. That necklace is not a replica." Pyran smiled and drew his 2 short swords, then quickly stabbed Mose in the head. The attack scratched Mose's head armor. Seeing Mose confused, Pyran explained, "Since Polo Run is not here, if I kill you, the necklace will be mine." Mose was once again shocked by Pyran's words. He never expected that he would end up like this. Pyran, who was still smiling contemptuously, said, "Of course, a dead man cannot tell a story." After saying that, Pyran quickly attacked Mose again. Seeing the movement, Mose summoned his sword and shouted, "Sharma." However, because the movement of Pyran was too fast, Mose could not hold back or avoid his attack. When Mose fell due to the attack, his vitality dropped below 10%. When Pyran thought he could have his necklace, he was surprised to see Mose still okay. What? How can your head still be attached after receiving that attack? Are you perhaps an immortal? You people are users or players. That seems to be what you are called, but it doesn't matter. Even if you can get back up, I will just have to kill you again and again. Each time Pyran attacked Mose with his sword, but due to the significant difference in strength, even though he could recover after a few seconds, he still couldn't resist when Pyran attacked him. As Mose wondered, can he endure that pain? Pyran was already behind him, whispering, "Do you think I will just sit still? I'm just sitting still and watching you get back up." Pyran continued his combo attacks until Mose's vitality dropped below 3%. Due to the attack, Mose began to lose consciousness. He could only vaguely see Pyran in front of him, who was smiling while raising his sword. When Mose thought he would die there, suddenly a man held Pyran's sword. The man explained that a sworder buried the truth in the sword and swore on his life to his sword. "I warned you multiple times that this mission is a level 1 secret. Not only did you reveal the secret to an immortal, but you were also blinded by greed and started acting like a dog. I declare you a traitor and will destroy you as soon as possible." Mose, who had already begun to recover, was very surprised by the situation in front of him. He wondered who the person holding Pyran's sword was. It turned out that the person holding Pyran's sword was named Master Robin, perhaps one of Pyran's teachers. Hearing Master Robin say that, Pyran looked very scared. He would explain his reasons, but before that, he asked for another chance. However, Master Robin did not care about his reasons and immediately struck him down, killing him instantly. Seeing that, Mose thought, incredible, he killed that Pyran so easily. After dispatching Pyran, Master Robin sheathed his sword and walked towards Mose, staring at him sharply. Because Mose knew too much information from Pyran, Master Robin could not let him go. Mose, who was still not fully recovered from the previous attack, thought, even that Pyran was so strong, then how strong is this person? He is on a different level, with such a big difference. Is this how it ends? No, I said I would change. I've decided to risk everything in the circuit. Moreover, this is a hidden class. Opportunities like this won't come twice. Even if I have to die like this and accept the penalty, I still have to fight now. Mose made up his mind, gripping his sword tightly and standing upright against the person in front of him. At first, Master Robin was somewhat surprised to see Mose, who had started to recover, standing in front of him with a sword in his hand. Master Robin asked, "You have known the difference between our abilities but still want to fight?" Mose stuttered as he responded, "Even though I know I'll keep getting chased, I have to do my best." Hearing Mose's answer, Master Robin thought to himself, what an incredible mentality. Even though he's trembling, no, maybe because of his bravery, he can survive even among swordsmen. It seems quite rare. As Master Robin observed Mose carefully, his attention focused on the ring that Mose was wearing. He knew that it was the seal of the sworder. Master Robin immediately grabbed Mose by the neck and lifted him up, asking, "Why does a scoundrel like you have it?" Mose couldn't move at all due to the chokehold and weakly explained, "I got it after defeating Jiritan." Master Robin was shocked when he heard the name mentioned by Mose. "Jiritan? Did you just say Jiritan?" Mose confirmed it, and Master Robin fell silent for a moment, staring sharply at Mose. Then, he released him and said, "I don't believe you could defeat Jiritan, but from your eyes, I can tell you're not lying." Mose, who had fallen to the ground, then asked, "Is Jiritan also a swordman?" Master Robin explained, "He used to be. Several hundred years ago, he betrayed the swordsmen and joined the Imperial Army. The sworder had just been established at the time, so because no one could match the Imperial Army, he seized an opportunity. That's why Jiritan had the seal of the sworder." Mose understood why Jiritan had the seal and apologized for being the one to kill him first. Master Robin continued, "Well, it doesn't matter. Someone had to take care of him eventually. But that doesn't mean I'll let you, who know this mission, continue to live. Now you have only one chance, to choose to die painfully every time you rise again or to fill the void left by that Pyran and work with us. Choose, immortal." But before Master could finish his sentence calmly, Mose interrupted, saying, "I want to work with you." Master Robin was confused by Mose's decisive answer and said, "You're not even hesitating? This is as foolish as Belika, the sun goddess shivering in the cold. Okay, well, we can't confirm whether you'll join the sorter or not. But I welcome you as a beginner." After saying that, Master Robin punched Mose with his fist, sending Mose's armor helmet flying and making him lose consciousness. The video ended with Mose waking up in a room called the Sanctuary. In the beginning, Mose was seen practicing with a wooden sword in the training area of the Sanctuary, facing Kia the Dark Elf. After exchanging smiles, they began their sword training session. Mose attacked Kia with his wooden sword, but Kia easily blocked it and pressed back against Mose. With her strength, Kia challenged Mose, "Do you think you can tire me out in a direct fight?" After saying that, Kia used one of her other techniques and combined it. She could easily read all the directions of Mose's sword movements, and in the midst of the situation, Mose thought to himself, "It's easy for her to talk. The speed and technique are superior to me, Master's first disciple is indeed great." Seeing an opening, Kia quickly attacked Mose, causing him to fall, and their training session ended. There, Kia approached Mose and bowed before extending his hand. "Your ability is not too bad, you just need to practice more." Seeing Kia smile, Mose immediately grasped his hand while rising and said, "Just wait, next time I will win." A few moments later, Mose, who had logged out of the game, was doing a little exercise while calling his mother. His mother was a little surprised and puzzled because Mose had sent her a sum of money, but because the amount of money Mose sent was too much, his mother was suspicious of where the money came from. Mose also didn't explain much about where the money came from. "Anyway, Mom, the important thing is that it's not the result of stealing." Suddenly, the alarm he had set on a watch rang, cutting off Mose's conversation with his mother. Mose thought, "I wonder what kind of hellish training is waiting for me today." A few days ago, the place where Mose regained consciousness after fainting was a hiding place for a mercenary organization called Sorters. The place was called Sanctuary, and they worshipped Good Bless Adiot. They were an elite group of assassins who received many requests from important people, and Master Robin, the person who brought Mose there, introduced himself as one of the 10 masters. He asked Mose if he wanted to become a sorter, and without hesitation, Mose decided that it was his destiny and joined the Sorters. It didn't take long before Mose regretted his decision, as the training was like hell every day, running up and down mountains, basic exercises repeated over and over, reading books about various countries, and if caught not doing his training properly, he would feel the warmth of Master Robin's fist, causing Mose to think that it was what made the organization's members so few. However, if you ask how Mose can withstand the training that is like hell, it's all thanks to the sweet Kia. If it weren't for Kia, Mose might have given up since he first became a swordsman. A few moments later, Mose and Kia were seen walking together. They were carrying out a mission. Seeing Mose being absent-minded, Kia asked, "What's wrong with him?" Mose claimed that he was just thinking, and finally, he could carry out his first mission. Kia reminded him that it was okay to be enthusiastic, but don't ignore the mission. Mose looked nervous when reminded like that. "Who do I think I am? I am now an official swordsman. I understand the rules," he said. After walking for a while on a forked road, they said goodbye to each other because they had their own missions. After parting with Kia, Mose continued his journey. He headed to the city of Asparagon. Now, after Mose completed his training and became a swordsman, he received a ring called the Shield of the Swordsman, a unique rank ring that increased close-range attacks by 14%. To carry out his first mission as a swordsman, Mose returned to the city of Asparagon. The mission was a Class S quest called the Super Clash Battle Quest, investigating the source of supernatural phenomena in the northeastern part of Asparagon. It was requested by the 14 Holy Knights, and the reward was still unknown because the armada heading to the Snow World North departed from this city of Asparagon. When Mose arrived there, he saw that there seemed to be more players than the last time he visited. While looking at the equipment that the players were wearing, Mose thought, just a few months ago, everyone was just hunting slimes to get magic rank items, but now, the average player already has pretty good equipment. Suddenly, someone screamed for help. He had been robbed, and all the equipment he had obtained from the Valenso hunting area was taken. They said they wouldn't return it unless he brought them some money. Hearing the cries for help, the players around began to whisper, "Isn't guild member number 1 in charge of that Belenso hunting area? The place is filled with people who use magic rank items, right? I heard that ordinary players and NPCs are kicked out of the public hunting area because they secretly supply items to the big guild." Poor guy. Mose, who heard all the whispers, became curious about what was happening there. We moved to a hunting area mentioned earlier where several members from Guild Number 1 were blocking other players. They claimed that the area could only be accessed by Guild Number 1 members. However, the other players there rejected their claims and accused them of monopolizing the area. Instead of explaining why they were doing this, the Guild Number 1 members threatened the players who wanted to hunt there to leave, or they would be beaten by one of the Guild Number 1 members, the bald one. He turned his attention away when he saw someone whom he had robbed before. However, when he approached, Mose blocked him with a smile and stated that the hunting area of this factory was open to anyone. "Who do you think you are to forbid people from entering here?" they boasted again as Guild Number 1 and once again threatened Mose to get involved. Mose explained, "First, you monopolize the hunting area for everyone and now you are threatening me. How low can you be, trash?" Hearing Mose insult them, the bald one was furious and intended to punch him, but Mose attacked him first, causing the bald one to be thrown far back. Seeing the bald one defeated by Mose, his comrades ordered their other members to attack Mose. Mose, who received a notification that Guild Number 1 was showing hostility towards him, prepared himself. He felt he didn't need to use his Sarna against weaklings like them. Quickly, Mose defeated all of them with just his fists. Seeing Mose's extraordinary actions, the players who witnessed it wondered who he really was. In response to their question, Mose, who was choking one of the Guild Number 1 members, turned to them and said, "Ha, I'm just an ordinary player who wants to hunt in the hunting area." Seeing their opponent was too strong, the Guild Number 1 members became confused. Suddenly, a player approached them from behind because he heard the commotion there. The player was named Suksa, a captain of the Guild Number 1 enforcer. With the presence of Suksa, the Guild Number 1 members who were beaten by Mose regained their arrogance. They boasted about their enforcer captain, who was a ranker. Hearing this statement, the players there immediately paid attention to Suksa, who had a bronze badge on his chest that could only be obtained by people in the top 9,000. Seeing the badge, the players there were convinced that Suksa was a ranker and began to look scared. While Mose was training, many things changed in the circuit. One of the biggest trending topics was the emergence of ranking players from top 1 to 3,000 who received a gold badge. From top 3001 to 6000, they received a silver badge, and players from 6001 to 9000 received a bronze badge. Just 3 months ago, rankings were determined by how famous the player was, but now official information has begun to record the rankings. Rumors are circulating that there are more than 310,000 people. After knowing the situation, Suksa shouted, "Don't you know that Guild Number 1 has 7 rankers? We are short of filling the quota for sending supplies. All of you, leave before I call the guards for disturbing our business. Oh, and you have to pay us for hitting my subordinates." Suksa pointed to Mose with his hand, but without hesitation, Mose punched Suksa. "Go call everyone, including the big companies or whatever it is." After unsheathing his sword, Mose looked sharply at the members of Guild Number 1, then continued, "I want everyone to see your business shattered to pieces." After saying that, Mose immediately killed the remaining members of the guild who were still standing, watching their comrades being easily killed by Mose. The frightened members of Guild Number 1 immediately fled from the scene. Due to Mose's focus, he forgot about his mission, and a notification appeared informing him that the airship he ordered would depart in 10 minutes. After that, Mose left the players there who looked happy because Mose had helped them. A little later, we moved to an airship called SS Dud Alvius. Mose, who was on the airship, looked ecstatic as he saw the breathtaking view from there. A moment later, someone approached Mose and asked, "Are you the person who wants to carry out the mission?" Realizing that someone was approaching him, Mose confirmed it. When Mose saw the ring worn by the person, he immediately greeted him, as usual among sorters. the truth should only be questioned by the sword. When the man did the same greeting, Mose realized that there was a strange aura surrounding the man in front of him. Curious, Mose activated his unique skill, Insight, where he could see the name and level of others. After activating his skill, Mose looked surprised to know that the man in front of him was level 91. A few moments passed, and they both looked like they were walking on the airship. The man, Kulwar, said that he didn't expect to meet another sorter there. He introduced himself as a sorter from Lusvan. Mose also introduced himself. Kulwar explained, "It's probably because something big is happening in the north. Besides that reason, I want to meet them. How about you?" Hearing that, Mose was curious about the 5 great people, and he decided to join them. Following Kulwar from behind, Mose looked amazed at the grand room they passed. But what made Mose even more surprised was when they arrived in one room, which contained the people they were talking about. Kulwar explained, "Here, they are the strongest people on this land." Seeing Mose and Kulwar there, a man named Aurora, a rank 3 missionary with a crown at level 21, asked, "Are you the guys who will join us on the mission?" A woman next to Aurora named Ivone, a 5th-generation caravan merchant at level 217, felt that Mose and Kulwar didn't look very strong and doubted their abilities. However, Lady Ivone's statement was refuted by a man named Here from the Order of the 14 Holy Knights, at level 186. He said, "Everyone, their appearance may look like that, but one of them is an adventurer who has the mortal's blessing of the goddess." A man standing next to Sir Hire named Sire, who was a member of the Order of the 14 Holy Knights at level 155, just stared at Mose and Kulwar strangely after hearing Sir Hire's words. Mose looked confused because there was someone who recognized him there. Then, an old man at the end of the table stood up and said, "I heard there is an adventurer who succeeded in becoming a sorter. Is that you?" The old man's name was Gon, a sword master of Tikris at level 244. Once again, Mose saw a strange aura surrounding Mr. Gon and was very surprised to know the level of Mr. Gon. A sword user has a ranking consisting of Sorter, Master, and Sword Master, and Sword Master is said to be the ultimate goal of all swordsmen, the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Mr. Gon is the great man among the great people, and Mose immediately bowed his head, then introduced himself followed by Kulwar, who was beside him. Mr. Gon stared at both of them sharply, then smiled and laughed, "Ha ha ha, you two sorters are not afraid in the presence of a sword master. Our future is very bright." Suddenly, a notification appeared that a hidden achievement had been unlocked, the one who meets the Ghost Blade. Mose had met the Ghost Blade, and his strength increased by 2 points because of unlocking that achievement. Mose was surprised by the notification, and he couldn't believe that he just got an additional 2 stat points for meeting a sword master. He thought about how strong they really were, and it's no wonder that the difficulty level of their mission was S rank. After a moment, someone spoke from the loudspeaker, "Dear passengers, I am the captain of the flying ship Dud. We will soon arrive at our destination, the North Wall of Lambas. This journey may end, but our love will not end just like that. But, of course, this is a beginning for all of you. I pray that the blessings of Bellica and Avalis will always be with you all." After hearing the notification, Mr. Gon and the other 4 people left Mose and Kaloy. He said that they would discuss the details later in the lounge room. As Mose watched them leave, he was surprised by a notification that his rank quest had upgraded from rank S to rank SS. After a while, the 7 of them gathered in a room on the snow wall of the northern part of Langnes. They were discussing the details of their quest, but the main topic now was a notification from a document stating that the quest's difficulty level had suddenly increased. Mr. Gon looked worried that if the difficulty continued to increase, they might have to cancel the quest they had accepted. According to Aurora, it is better to cancel it if inexperienced people are sent there. They might die, but why did the mission's difficulty level increase? Tuan Hire explained, "If we read what is written in this document, the source of the supernatural cause has been found in the eastern lands of the Olu Magic Land. The damage was caused by red lightning. We initially thought it was weather changes caused by magic experiments in Olu, but because the lightning was red, it means it is Garnes. However, we do not know through which path he came here. The species number 17, a catastrophic class that came from an unknown land, the elder dragon Garnes, has come to Langnes. Initially, everyone there was surprised to hear Tuan Hire's explanation, but it seems that Mr. Gon and Aurora were increasingly interested in their quest after hearing that the elder dragon was behind all of this. Tuan Hire added that the quest's reward was 50 Armacan coins from the Arantes Bank. Aurora burst out laughing after hearing the prize. Ha ha ha, the Order of the 14 Holy Knights is indeed great. I like your bravery, but it seems that Miss Ivone needs something other than money for her reward. Upon hearing Miss Ivone's request, Tuan Hire offered her the right to buy and sell food in Asparagon, and Miss Ivone agreed to the offer. Although Tuan Hire was skilled in negotiating with the two people, he was unsure of what Mr. Gon wanted. Upon hearing Tuan Hire's words, Mr. Gon said, I don't need any rewards. If you agree, the two of them can join my party, and that's enough for me. After Mr. Gon said that, a notification appeared in front of Mose saying that Sword Master Gon had invited him to join his party. Mose looked happy about it. A few moments later, at Dragon Laying on Snow in Inlandaris, a man named Ser, a member of the Sensority Caravan, welcomed Mr. Gon and the other 6 people. However, Mr. Gon felt uncomfortable when he called their arrival as saviors. According to him, the people who carried out this quest were not so great as to be welcomed with noble words like that. Mose thought, was the person in front of him sent to act first by the Order of 14 Holy Knights? Of course, his level is sky high. After greeting them, they entered the room, they returned to discussing in another room, and Aurora immediately asked about the situation there. Mr. Ser said that the red lightning has stopped now. Upon hearing the situation, Pak Gon suggested, since the red lightning has stopped, this is a good opportunity. Aurora also seemed to agree with that and took the initiative to attack the front, wanting to try to obstruct the attack as much as possible. According to Aurora's initiative, Pak Gon handed the front to her, while Pak Gon, Mose, and Sekulwar would attack the back. Upon hearing that Pak Gon and Aurora had chosen their parts, Miss Ivone said that she would tie her legs with her magic. Mr. Hire would help Pak Gon attack the monster repeatedly, and Sire would assist them all with magic. Mr. Ser would also assist them by reciting a mantra so that they could approach the Garnes dragon without its knowledge. After deciding on their plan, they immediately prepared and began their journey to where the Garnes dragon was located. On the way, Mo seemed to have trouble seeing the road ahead of him clearly because of all the snow, and suddenly a red lightning struck not far behind him. Mose looked surprised and wondered, is that because of the Garnes flapping its wings? It's such a tremendous power. After everyone gathered, Mr. Ser started his mantra, the sound of a fountain, the sound of the ocean, and the sound of the deep sea. With my power, I say that the sound of the earth will be as silent as the deep sea now, and I will eliminate you in my name. After finishing his mantra, Mr. Ser struck his staff on the ground, and a light shone around them accompanied by shockwaves. The shockwave was so strong that even Moses' body behind his armor vibrated. Mr. Ser then continued with another mantra accompanied by the sound of a bell being rung by Sire. After Mr. Ser finished his additional mantra, a notification appeared because Mose had listened to vocal continuous number 34, and a buff had been activated. The player's health would recover by 583 pounds per second, and all attacks would be increased by 34%. The remaining time of the two buffs was 7,200 seconds. Miss Ivone also felt her buff, which was quite useful. Mose thought, oh, tremendous power is flooding my body. Is this the peak of a supporter's ability? While Mose was thinking about that, a roar from the mountain was heard, and they shouted, it seems that the Garnes dragon is coming alone. Everyone, be prepared. Pak Gon readied his sword, Aurora with her spear, and Miss Ivone with her spiked whip. While everyone was on guard, Mose wondered where he would appear, and suddenly the Garnes dragon appeared behind him. The video ended with Mose being surprised at the appearance of a dragon named Garnas behind him, and he thought, "Is this a dragon?" In the previous video, Mose, who was on his first mission, immediately met some great people. However, the problem was that the difficulty level of the quest he received changed. Will Mose be able to complete his quest? In the beginning of this video, after a Garnas dragon appeared behind Mose, the dragon roared loudly, causing Mose's legs to suddenly go numb and his body refused to move at all. Seeing the dragon in front of him, Mose only thought of one thing, that he would die right then and there, and he surrendered. Seeing the dragon in front of him spewing its fiery breath, Aurora immediately moved forward to Mose, holding her breath using her shield, and scolded Mose, "Hey idiot, why are you just standing there? Quickly move to the back." Nona Ivone also didn't stay silent, she whipped her whip and tied the dragon's mouth shut. Seeing this, Mr. Gon and Mr. Here immediately jumped in, and the two of them attacked the Garnas dragon with their combo. Although they had performed a good combo, as Mr. Gon had expected, their attacks did not deal enough damage, and all they could do was stall for time. Seeing the actions of the strongest party members, Mose thought, so this is how the strongest party members play. Shortly thereafter, the Garnas dragon roared again, and Mr. Gon shouted, "Hey, get ready, here it comes." Aurora stepped forward again, holding his shield, and this time he activated one of his skills. He returned the fire he had received from the Garnas dragon before by releasing it from his shield. Aurora's attack clashed with the dragon's fiery breath, but it seemed that Aurora's attack could not continue to hold up. From the back of their party, where Mr. Sire and Mr. Here were, they finished chanting another mantra, a mantra to debuff the dragon. When the debuff was active, all of the enemy's stats would be weakened, and there were still 7,200 seconds remaining in its effect. Because of the effect of the debuff, Aurora's attack hit the dragon, but even so, the dragon was still able to stand. The dragon's resilience made Aurora praise it a little. However, Mose, who was still behind, kept watching Aurora and suddenly realized something. Suddenly, Aurora's level increased dramatically, just like Giratin's time. In this game, NPCs can increase their level just by holding their weapons. Shortly thereafter, seeing the Garnas dragon flapping its wings, Aurora thought that the dragon was going to attack them from the sky, but she wouldn't let that happen. She used one of her skills, White Rose, to catch it. The skill released creeping plants and immediately bound the dragon. Lady Ivone shouted, "The stem can't hold it for much longer because it's too strong, Mr. Here." Mr. Here asked her to hold the dragon for a little while longer, and he would immediately chant a mantra when he floated. Here then used one of his skills, a skill that allowed him to float as if he had a pair of wings on his back. As Mose was amazed at the skill being used by the people there, Kulwar shouted, "Mose, let's move forward. This is our chance while it's still bound," and Mose replied, "Let's go." So they immediately ran towards the dragon. However, it seemed that the dragon noticed their presence and with its free hand, it threw snow towards the two of them. As the attack nearly buried them, Mose thought to himself, "I thought that was our chance, that creature knew we would attack him." Seeing this, Mr. Gon walked towards Mose and Kulwar and said, "Ha ha ha, our beloved sworders, your shoulders are too tense. You can increase your jumping speed to enhance the power of your swords. But the main task of a sworder is solely to develop his swordsmanship, and this is the swordsmanship that you must eventually achieve." Mr. Gon prepared his sword and demonstrated one of his sword techniques, a technique that emitted a sword aura. The sword aura attack successfully wounded the dragon near its wing and neck area, causing it to lose its balance and fall back to the ground. Witnessing this, Mose thought, "Amazing, Mr. Gon's level far surpasses that of Garnas the dragon, and his sword techniques that have reached their peak are truly impressive. I feel like I am watching my mentor as a sworder." Mr. Gon continued, "Now is our chance while it is still down." Hearing Mr. Gon's words and seeing him run towards the dragon, Mose and Kulwar followed suit. Mose thought to himself, "I must not let this battle end without me doing something." As Mose ran, he unknowingly emitted a blue aura around his body. Mr. Gon, who noticed this, thought to himself, "What is that? Oh, I see. Someone with a promising future has joined us." When they were near the dragon, Mose immediately attacked with his sword, but his attack did not have much impact on the dragon. Instead, the dragon looked as though it was going to rise again. In the midst of Mose's surprise, Mr. Gon said, "Don't force yourself, you're still a kid." After saying that, Mr. Gon charged forward and attacked the dragon again. His attack successfully caused the dragon to fall again. Looking up, Mr. Gon asked, "Is that enough?" Mose was once again amazed, but when he looked up, Mr. Hire had already prepared to use one of his skills and yelled, "Everyone, get away from Garnus." Above Garnus, there was a light with yellow electricity that was shaped like a sword. Mr. Hire continued, "Forgive me, ancient creature, but this is important to save many lives." Seeing the attack, Aurora shouted, "Everyone, take cover behind my shield." After everyone took cover behind Aurora's shield, the light fell directly onto the dragon's body, and a large explosion occurred. The attack successfully killed the Garnus dragon as they gathered to confirm its death. Mose saw a core near its body and wondered, "Is that a Garnus core?" looking at the people around him. But it seemed they couldn't see the core because they were just NPCs. Shortly after, Lady Ivone applauded to celebrate the battle that had ended. The fierce battle against the Garnus dragon ended like that, and during the fight, Mose leveled up 25 times. Aurora quickly left after receiving his reward because he hated cold places. Nona Ivone called on the people from her caravan to cut up the dragon's corpse and left after feeling satisfied with everything. Then Mr. Hire thanked Mr. Gon, Mose, and Kulwar. Mr. Gon said that meeting two talented people was a reward for him, and it seemed Mr. Hire agreed as he smiled while looking at Mose. Mose wanted to laugh hearing that, although he felt uncomfortable because Mr. Hire started to like him. After a while, Mr. Gon bid farewell to Mose and Kulwar with his greetings. Mr. Gon said, "One day your sword will reach the world we inhabit. When that happens, I will welcome you with open arms. I look forward to meeting you again." After saying that, Mr. Gon left using a portal. After Mr. Gon's departure, Kulwar would also leave because he had more important matters to attend to. After everyone had left, only Mose remained there alone. Being alone made Mose feel like the previous battle had never happened. Mose approached the Garnus core he had seen earlier and thought, "I also have to take care of this. I don't know if it's okay if I use this core alone, but I don't need to talk too much. To match the strongest, I need to get stronger quickly." After Mose touched the core, it immediately shone. Several amazing items came out of the core, namely a legendary ranked sword named Atoria's Stigma. If used, the user would get a passive skill called Swordmanship of Atoria. For every 100 monsters killed, the user can use Disastrous Flame, Solar Storm, which can be stored up to 3 times with a cooldown of 10 minutes. However, monsters 20 levels below the user would not count as a stack. There was also a set of equipment called Atoria's Rising Sun, which had a legendary rank. The set included Atoria's Mane, Heavy Armor Helmet, Atoria's Sun, Heavy Armor Top, Atoria's Tenduin, Heavy Armor Bottom, Atoria's Craze, Heavy Armor Gloves, Atoria's Flame, Heavy Armor Shoes, and Atoria's Stigma, Heavy Armor Greatsword. The set effect increased close range attack by 44%, increased character speed by 34% for 3 sets, and strengthened the ability of Disastrous Flame and Solar Storm. When the 6 sets were equipped, the user would receive an active skill called Solar Rampage. Mose looked very surprised by all the equipment. The contents of the Garnus core were just as extraordinary as the Elder Dragon Garnus, containing a set of legendary ranked items instead of unique ones. Mose became the first person to obtain a legendary ranked set in the circuit. Let's move on to Ji Hyun, the second streamer from the TV circuit. This time, in her stream, Ji Hyun explained that the Information Guild reported yesterday morning about the upcoming National Ranker War. Until now, the ranking has been determined based on registered user criteria, but they plan to improve it as soon as possible. Special missions will be given to nationally ranked players. So, if any Pilero feels confident, come to Asparagan Square. On the other hand, after Moze was determined to become stronger in the game circuit, he exercises every day to improve his stamina so he can last longer in the circuit. Moze returned to the real world and felt dizzy from playing games for too long, and also suffered from a sense of disparity, making it difficult for him to adapt. The VR game he started playing to change his real life actually feels more real than reality itself. It's funny, but in the game, he can earn a lot of money, unlike in real life. That's why Moze decided to take it more seriously and change himself. Moze looked hesitant. Should he consider it just a normal game? If it weren't for the game, would he live a normal life like the people around him? No, he would still suffer from a lack of money. Somehow, Moze could think of such a silly thing. So, in the end, Moze decided to return to where he was a while ago. After logging in, Moze was seen walking around a city. He thought he entrusted his armor to the smithy. Therefore, before reporting to the sanctuary, he will do something first. Moze looked around and his attention was drawn to an alley between two buildings that he thought no one would see him if he did something there. After entering the alley, Moze took out the legendary item he had obtained, the Greatsword Atoria Stigma. When he held the sword, his whole body glowed, and suddenly his whole body felt extremely hot after experiencing tremendous pain. A notification appeared in front of Moze telling him that the passive ability of the sword had been activated. Moze got Atoria swordsmanship. Moze could imagine his swordsmanship movements in his head. Moze looked a little surprised because it was the first time he had obtained a passive skill from an item and knew how it worked. But as Moze was thinking about it, he heard someone's voice from behind him. Moze immediately stopped his activity and checked who that person was. After checking it, Moses felt relieved as the people behind him were only chatting with each other using an item called Communication Crystal Ball, a device used to communicate from a distance. Seeing that, Moses remembered his former colleagues who used to party with him, and he wondered if he should buy the item. After a while, Moses was seen leaving an equipment store. He had just bought a communication crystal ball and also fixed his armor. Now he just needed to go back to the sanctuary through a portal. Time passed, and now Moses was being welcomed by a flight attendant from an airship. Moses immediately mentioned his destination, the big caravan, and the flight attendant led him while saying, "If that's the case, we will take you to the White Horse of Wonders. Please come this way." While following the flight attendant, Moses thought that upon arrival at the sanctuary, he only saw a note from Master Robin asking him to go to the big caravan. As Moses was thinking about that, Kia approached him and asked, "What took you so long to come here? Are you always going to make me wait?" Moses looked a bit surprised and happy at Kia's presence, and he asked her if she would join him. Kia confirmed that, as this mission was a joint mission. Time passed, and their journey had arrived at their destination. Upon their arrival at the big caravan, Moses stretched his body as he did not expect the journey to be further than the usual. Kia immediately informed Moses while pointing to a tall white building that reached the sky, "Look, Moses, that's the skyscraper of the big caravan, where everything is traded." As Moses was admiring the building, from behind them, someone spoke, "Miss Kia and Mr. Moses, welcome. I am Silverhead Russell and Information Guild." After the arrival of the man, whom we shall call Russell, Moses and Kia followed him. On their way, Russell explained, "Now we will go up to the 81st floor of the caravan. As information, floors 80 to 90 are accommodation facilities, and you will be staying on the 88th floor in the Florence room." However, Kia made sure she asked Russell, "You are definitely the person sent by our master, right?" Russell looked at Kia oddly, but he smiled while explaining, "Absolutely, I will tell you the rest when we arrive at the place where you will stay." Upon their arrival in their room, Russell explained, "Before I speak from now on, I want to let you know that my words will represent the words of Master Robin." Upon hearing that, Kia and Moses immediately showed respect. Russell opened a paper and continued, "A new mission was suddenly given to both of you at the same time, so the order must be given like this. Currently, a weapon that should not exist and should not be given to anyone, the Puri St. Trupsody No. 7-14, has been touched and brought to the big caravan. This is an item that will be auctioned in the auction house, to be held on the top floor of the caravan. Big Caravan is a city run by merchants, where nobody, not even us, is entitled to receive the items that are supposed to be handled by the caravan. Therefore, the main goal of this mission is to win the auction for those items, no matter what happens. Kia will participate in the auction, disguised as an aristocrat named Aryan Mary, while Mose will also participate by disguising himself as Maxim, Aryan Mary's night guard." After the briefing, they both immediately set out to carry out their mission, and they arrive at a luxurious auction event. As they enter the room, a servant opens the door and another servant announces to everyone that Miss Aryan Mary is entering the auction room. As Kia and Mose enter the room, all eyes are on Kia, even Mose is fascinated. In order to participate in the auction, they must become part of the social gathering, and it's a good start when they both walk and suddenly a woman approaches them and introduces herself as Akazit Farinami from the Akazit family. She intends to invite Kia to sit with them, using her aristocratic mannerism. Kia agrees to her invitation, and as she walks with the woman, she notices some people laughing as if they are ridiculing her. Mose is surprised by their behavior. When they arrive at a table where two other women are sitting, the Akazit woman says a sentence welcoming the arrival of the Aryan family and imitates the Farim accent, apparently intending to mock it. The other two women laugh upon hearing the Akazit woman say the sentence with a mocking tone. Kia realizes Mose's anger, but she raises her hand to prevent him from acting rashly. While trying to hold back her laughter, the Akazit woman claims that it is polite for her to speak with the Farim accent, as she heard that the Farim are famous for their grapes. Does that mean the Aryan family also has a vineyard in Farim? Kia confirms that it's true, and the two other women immediately respond by saying that if that's the case, the Aryan family will receive a title of nobility for farming from their family, the Akazit, who have a long history as a royal enchantment that combines the power of magic and objects. Kia must work even harder for the Aryan family, especially as a half-elf. One of the women even makes a rude comment, saying that she can't imagine what it's like to look like a slave being sold on the lower floor of the big caravan, and she points out that Kia's choker necklace doesn't suit her due to her lack of elegance. She asks her guard, Orb, if he can fix Kia's dress, as it hurts her eyes to look at it. Upon hearing his master's command, one of their guards named Orb approached Kia and reached out his hand while saying, "I hope you don't blame me for this. I'm just following orders." As Orb extended his hand, Mose immediately stepped forward and grabbed the guard's hand, twisting it. "How dare you touch my lady with your dirty hands? Are you tired of living?" Mose's actions shocked Akazit and her two sisters. Kia then explained, "Are all knights from the Akazit family trash like this one? How foolish. The guard in front of you planned to resolve this situation honorably by abiding by the laws of chivalry for what you just did. I, Mary of the Aryan family, have received insult from the Akazit family. For the sake of my family's honor, I challenge you to a knight's duel. Maxim, are you ready?" Mose, who had already drawn his sword, said he was ready. He was Maxim, the knight of Farim from the Aryan family, and he would bring victory for the honor of his family. The people there who heard the commotion immediately surrounded them, interested in a duel as their debut in this social gathering. One of the women from the Akazit family ordered Orb to step forward and duel with Mose. The guard, Orb, shouted, "I am Orb, the knight of Akazit. I will accept your challenge for the honor of our family." Mose, who saw Orb's level, thought, level 32, huh? His level isn't that high. Orb immediately charged at Mose, but his attack was easily avoided by Mose. Mose counterattacked, and his attack damaged Orb's armor and made him faint instantly. Mose's actions left everyone who saw it stunned. They didn't expect this knight they saw to be so strong. The duel ended with one attack because Orb was defeated. Another woman from the Akazit family looked very angry as she ordered their other knight named Long Sel to step forward and punish Mose. Long Sel, the Knights of the Wind, received an order from Akazit Korm to punish him here and now. After saying that, Long Sel quickly moved behind Mose and attacked him with his sword. But it seems that Mose had anticipated this, as he quickly turned around and casually blocked all of Long Sel's attacks. Mose asked, "Are you done attacking?" Long Sel was shocked that all of his attacks had no effect. He could only surrender as Mose immediately struck him until he passed out, ending their duel. While everyone was amazed by Mose's action, Kia stepped forward gracefully and explained, "I am Arian Mary, deeply disappointed in you and the social group you lead and participate in, to show such lowly behavior, to insult and underestimate a family from far outside the capital, let alone to perform a racist act. I hope that this social group can welcome nobles from other foreign countries warmly and friendly in the future, and I hope you do not forget that Big Caravan is a place where various cultures from different parts of the world gather to exchange and communicate." At first, the people were silent while listening to Kia's explanation, but after finishing her sentence, everyone applauded her action in amazement. On the other side, someone in a hooded cloak was observing the scene not far away, and the video ended with the cloaked figure saying, "Ah, finally, the time has come. I've been waiting for you, Mose." Mose and Kia were seen back in their room, taking off their jewelry. Kia explained that the real game was just about to begin. They had successfully joined the social group, and now it was time to move on to their main objective, which was the auction. But seeing Mose staring at her like that, Kia asked, "What is it? Why are you looking at me like that?" Mose looked at her in awe because he thought Kia's acting earlier was extraordinary. Hearing that, Kia explained that she was quite experienced in that matter. Mose asked, "Experience? Does that mean you're a real noble?" Kia explained, "I used to be a slave of a noble, so I indirectly learned how nobles act and think. Honestly, when they talked about half-elves and slaves, I wanted to kill them on the spot. But now, I'm a sorter, a Kia who suffered because of having half-elf blood is gone." Mose was very surprised to hear that and bowed his head, apologizing for asking. Seeing Mose looking so down, Kia stood up and patted Mose's shoulder while saying, "It's okay. Don't be so sad. The important thing is that everything is going smoothly now." After a few moments of silence, Kia continued, "The master said he would give us enough time to rest after this mission is over, so let's finish this mission perfectly." A few moments later, on their way to the auction with a horse-drawn carriage, Kia explained that they had received 25 Ormakan tokens and 7,000 gold, and it would be better if they could bid when the price was still low. But that didn't mean their mission would end. They had to find the organization that was trying to buy Mose's sheet. So, they had to force a high bid to find their target. "Let's go," Kia said. When they arrived at the auction house, Mose thought to himself, "It feels weird because I wear a suit here, but I never wear a suit during a job interview. So, this is the auction house of the Big Caravan Eden?" And the evening auction began immediately. The host welcomed everyone present there. "Ladies and gentlemen, and all other VIPs, I request your attention here today, as we present to you something even more valuable than gold, from the world's secret relief to treasures that will make you go crazy, and even possessions that can enhance your elegance. And this precious moment begins now." After everyone applauded, one of the auction staff brought the first item onto the stage. The first magnificent item to be presented at Eden is the index finger of the last princess of the fallen Esrandal kingdom. Kia and Mose looked very tense as they saw the first item to be displayed that evening, but they felt relieved after seeing that it was not the item they were after. Immediately after that, a notification appeared, describing the Esrandal nail. Rona has a unique rank, and the chain mission of the tragedy in the Esrandal royal family will be activated once owned. The host continued, "The initial bid price is 3 tokens, and the people there began to raise their prices. After a while, it stopped at 17 Ormakan tokens. The host asked, "Is there anyone who wants to offer a higher price than 17 Ormakan tokens?" Since no one else offered a higher price, the item was won with a bidding of 17 Ormakan tokens. Kian saw Mose sighing and tried to calm him down. Relax, Mose. We haven't even started yet. So, Mose slapped himself to focus and calm down. Then the auction for the second item would begin, and the host continued, now, the next item to continue this madness is a genius musician who is both the best and the worst in the history of Promosian. He is known as the Crazy Musician. I present to you, Puri Saint Trupsody number 7 to 14. After Mose saw the item, a notification appeared in front of him, explaining the item description. But Mose looked puzzled by the dark black notification screen, which was very different from the usual one. Mose could only think that the item was not just an ordinary one. The initial bid price was 4 tokens, and the price began to climb from 6 to 8 and then stopped at 9 tokens. When the host asked if anyone would bid higher, Kia immediately spoke up, 25 tokens. Everyone there was surprised that someone bid that high, but when the host asked again if anyone would bid higher, there was suddenly someone who said 50,000 gold, which meant 50 tokens. The host looked confused because someone interrupted him. Mose was about to get up from his seat because he was curious about who bid that high. Kia calmed him down and told him to focus and not waver. Kia then bid again at 75 tokens. After hearing Kia bid that high, Mose asked, 75? Will our budget be okay? But Kia calmed him down and said, it's okay. We will surely catch his attention. Suddenly, someone made another bid. They bid 100,000 gold or 100 tokens. The auctioneer became even more excited. Although the auction had just started, the price had already skyrocketed. Everyone was silent, staring at Mose. I told you, didn't I? Kia said as Mose smiled and stood up from his seat. He looked back and said, now, all we need to do is catch that person. Oh, who was it again? When Mose saw the face of the bidder who made the crazy bid earlier, he looked surprised because he recognized him as the special A-rank fugitive, Gamalo Lero. Just a little information for everyone, this part is a bit confusing because the scene suddenly switches to Mose and Kia chasing Lero in the forest after Mose saw him at the auction. Maybe there are some missing scenes, intentionally omitted, or maybe they will be explained in the next chapter. So let's assume that Mose saw Lero at the auction, but he couldn't act recklessly because they were still in the auction and Kia warned him not to do anything rash. Finally, they both had to wait until they were outside the auction. After a while of chasing Lero, Kia and Mose managed to catch up to him. When Lero saw Mose and Kia in front of him, he said, you were so passionate looking at me earlier, and now you've followed me all the way here. But I was hoping you would follow me. Lero emitted an aura around his body and also gave off a strange pressure. Seeing this, Mose thought, this pressure? If I make a wrong move, I could be killed right now. Lero continued, let me introduce myself again. My name is Lero. It's such a wonderful encounter, isn't it, Mose? Mose immediately became alert and told Kia to be careful because Lero was a deadly monster. Kia wasn't a player, so she couldn't estimate how strong Lero was based on his level alone. Hearing this, Kia asked Mose if he knew him, and Mose confirmed that he had bought something from him before in Lindaroan. He was surprised that Lero still remembered him. Lero quickly approached Mose and said, of course, it was a fated encounter. Mose was very surprised by Lero's fast movements and was left stunned. Fortunately, Kia quickly attacked Lero with her sword, making him step back. Kia said, I'm not sure what fate you're talking about, but I can't just stand here. I am Sworder of Asparagon, Kia. I will reveal the truth with my sword. Although Kia was right in front of him, Lero easily dodged her attack and quickly approached Mose, explaining that he had something to talk to him about. After saying that, Lero snapped his fingers and then the two of them disappeared from Kia's sight. Seeing Mose's confusion with what he just experienced, Lero explained, we disappeared from the half-elf sight. I separated his dimension because I wanted to talk to you. Please understand. To be honest, you really surprised me, Mose the Immortal. I have to tell you, you really surprised me, haha. Mose looked very surprised when Lero shouted, then his eyes changed, and he even laughed. Lero continued, "At least there's a reborn immortal that I've selected. Why haven't they ever used it properly and instead sold it off? But Mose, you're different from them, so I have to fix my plan just for you. Aren't you curious? What if you could become a sorter? Why was there a Giratin in the cave that you happened to enter? How could you come across a sorter in the mission to chase me? And you were sent to Big Caravan for this mission, was it all just a coincidence? You thought everything happened because of your luck, didn't you? Everything has been planned by me." Hearing all of this, Mose was surprised and more confused. He thought, why? Isn't it because of my luck? Is all of this a part of his plan? Mose dropped his sword and asked Lero, why? "I don't understand." Lero explained, "Why did you say that?" "Because I want the world to be ruled by immortals. Now, Mose, make your hatred a source of your power and destroy this empire with your own two hands. How about it? You can rule this world and also avenge my family against the imperialists who took everything away. Hurry up and kill all of them who wear the golden crown on their heads. You can have it all. That's why I chose you." At that moment, Mose thought, revenge? It sounds like Lero. You were once a human too, someone who hated the world for taking away his family, and destroyed himself when he was looking for revenge. Kia, was our meeting just a part of his plan? No, I chose my own path. After making up his mind, Mose grabbed his sword again and stood up, saying, Lero, I am not a pawn that you can move as you please. Becoming a sorter is a choice that I made, and I went through incredibly difficult training for it. Of course, I am very grateful to you for the necklace that saved me. That's why this time, I will change your goal. A Super Clash Battle Quest notification appeared, stating to defeat Lero the Gambler with a hidden trait as the reward. Upon hearing that, Mose immediately swung his sword and successfully hit Lero. However, Mose was the one who was surprised when he saw something strange on Lero's body. He thought to himself, what a terrifying person is this? Lero, who was attacked by Mose, asked, Mose, what was that just now? Seeing Mose keeping his distance from him, Lero explained, ha ha ha, are you surprised? This is the result of my hatred and power. If you want it, I can give it to you. Mose, this is your last chance. Will you choose to be on my side, or do you want to die in my hands? Choose one. In the midst of such a situation, Mose tried to remain calm and then decided to reject Lero's offer. Upon hearing Mose's refusal, Lero asked, what's the reason? He shouted, you can become the king of this world. Just accept my offer. Why do you refuse this opportunity? Just kill those rotten imperialists with this power and the world will be yours. However, Mose still stuck to his principles because it was useless for him to do so. Seeing Mose still firm in his stance, Lero had no other choice but to kill Mose with his own hands. Thus, Lero immediately attacked Mose blindly in the midst of their mechanical battle. When Lero held Mose's sword with his hand, he explained, I know you have different opinions from us. You also enjoy things that we cannot enjoy. I understand that you have your own world. I have studied your people to the point of selling my body and soul. Your reason for coming to this world is to find entertainment and stimulus, right? I have given you new power, dreams, and stimulation of entertainment and pleasure. So why is it difficult for you to accept my offer? Your reason for being here is just for the sake of entertainment and pleasure that is not important, so don't care about the fate of this world. Although Mose was constantly cornered by Lero's attacks, he still managed to maintain his composure. He then replied to Lero's words, yes, your words are true. I am in this world to earn a lot of money. Thanks to you, I became exceptionally stronger and gained a lot of experience by exploring this world more often, which made me realize its beauty, Lindarowan, Asparagan Lanyeri, and even this place. Going anywhere can make my heart beat faster. Lero, it feels not enough just to say thank you to you. I also understand your current situation, but I'm sorry, I cannot accept your request to destroy this world. You ask why I think like this? It's just a guess, but I can see from your eyes that you don't really want destruction. So, I have decided to take your pain and bear your burden. Mose pointed his sword at Lero, who laughed at his explanation. Lero replied, "Ha ha ha, the meaning of your words is that I, who have only wanted revenge, did not realize what I truly wanted to do. What do you know? Stop babbling nonsense. Alright, if you don't want to listen to me, I'll kill you right now, you damn rat." Despite Mose's best efforts to defend himself, Lero continued to attack him fiercely, and his HP continued to decrease over time. In the midst of the intense battle, Mose thought to himself, "If this continues, I won't be able to make him realize the error of his ways. But if I can't stop him, Lero will forever be trapped in this cycle of revenge. That's too sad if it happens. I have to think of a way." Suddenly, Mose's sword began to glow brightly, and a notification appeared, indicating that Mose had defeated 100 monsters and activated the effect of Atoria Stigma. Mose immediately gained a new skill, Disastrous Flame, Solar Storm, an active type of skill that can only be activated using Atoria Stigma. If the Atoria's Rising Sun set is in the user's inventory, it will be automatically equipped when the skill is used. The skill inflicts 1026 damage per second to enemies touched by fire, for a duration of 100 seconds, with 3 stacks of fire that can only be extinguished by a skill of the holy type. When Mose mentioned the name of the skill, he seemed to lose consciousness and his body moved on its own, still swinging his sword and spreading fire around him. Soon after the fire touched Lero, we are taken to a flashback of Lero's past, where he witnessed his wife and children being killed and hung on a pole. From that day on, Lero was determined to seek revenge against the Imperials and did various things in the name of revenge, such as robbery, theft, and even killing innocent people. Although he blamed the Empire for all his actions, he knew that he was the one who was truly responsible, but it was too late to turn back time. In his final moments, he asked for forgiveness and thanked Mose for stopping him. When Mose got his vehicle back, he was surprised to see Lero standing in front of him, with parts of his body disappearing. In his last words, Lero said, "Maybe what I really wanted from you was help. Forgive me, Mose, and goodbye." After that, Lero's body glowed and disappeared. Seeing this, Mose thought to himself, "Lero, you actually the one who saved me. I will remember you." Shortly after that, the dimension created by Lero collapsed and Mose reappeared in the same place where he was before. He sat there with tears flowing down his face. Kia, who had been there the whole time, immediately approached and got closer to Mose. Just as Kia was approaching Mose, a notification appeared stating that Mose had obtained the hidden trait Lucky Roiner. After that, Mose was seen checking the new trait he had obtained from the fight against Lero while he was inside an airship. The fight had given Mose 2 skills. The first was the level 1 active skill Lucky Roin, which could transform objects found in ancient ruins and legends into an alchemist core. The rank of the item transformed into a core increased based on the level of the skill, and the cooldown time was 72 hours. The second skill was the maximum level active skill Roin Remix, which allowed the user to store cores in their inventory. Cores stored could be combined up to 3 times if they were at the same rank. The combined cores could produce higher maximum rewards, but there was a small chance that a monster might come out of the combined cores. This skill required 800 MP and had a cooldown of 48 hours. Mose thought to himself, Lero must have given an ability to another player using this ability. This is the legacy he left for me. So, I must make sure that no one else will be as sad as he was. If there's one thing I learned from my fight against Lero, it's that even in a place where we define the population as NPCs just because this is just a VR game, there are NPCs who have emotions like hatred and regret within them, and they are also human beings like us. They are different from ordinary NPCs who only speak pre-programmed lines. So, can't I think of the circuit as just an ordinary game? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for me to consider it as a different world? Kia approached Mose and asked if he was okay. Mose answered that he was fine. Kia then asked, "Really? So, what are your plans for this holiday? But Mo seemed to have not thought about it yet and asked what Kia was going to do. Kia planned to go home to a small village in Agilis. Upon hearing that, Mose pretended to be interested and said, I also want to go there someday. Can I go there too? Kia smiled and said, of course, you can. A few moments later, Mose arrived in the city of Asparagon. While he was walking around the city, he didn't feel very good that day and looked confused. Mose was told to rest until the next mission was given because he had also parted ways with Kia. He didn't know what to do at that moment. Suddenly, the communication ball item that he had bought earlier rang. When Mose picked it up, he saw Sharon's face in the ball. Sharon spoke to Mose, you finally answered. How are you? It's me, Sharon. After a while, Mose was seen gathering with his party members at a bar. They had dinner and drinks together. Sharon asked Mose where he had been lately, and Mose replied that many things had happened, and he didn't know where to start. Hearing Mose's words, Gil took the initiative and said, well then, should the youngest member tell us about his recent news? Look, I got a magic rank item pair with my girlfriend. Gil proudly showed a ring on his finger. Sharon, Mose, and Uncle smiled and watched him. Then Sharon added, I heard his girlfriend is an elf, she has high standards. Hearing Sharon's words, Mose was surprised and accidentally spit out his drink. Mose thought, what? An elf? Having a relationship with an NPC? This is the first time I've heard of something like this. From my fight with the lair, I know that NPCs are also living creatures just like us in this game. Many people come here to achieve their dreams, but I'm still surprised by what Gil just said. This means that I still don't fully understand how heavy that burden is. While Mose was thinking about all of that, Gil called him Mose. Actually, that sounds a bit awkward. Can I call you Hyun? I didn't help much back then, but thanks to you, I can now pay for my tuition, and with being a grace as a stepping stone, I now earn a lot of money. Thank you very much. Mose allowed him to call him Hyun, and he smiled and said, that's not true. If Gil wasn't in the party, I would have been in a dangerous situation. By trying to save the injured uncle, you did your duty. Someone added, to be honest, Mose, you're the reason we can gather again after such a long time like this. If it weren't for you, we would all have been victims of that bastard rancor. Uncle, who was next to Sharon, replied, I heard some rumors about people who follow the raid falling into traps. They say most of the victims eventually quit playing this game. Sharon added, and even we can beat the Bill boss. If it weren't for Hyun, we would never have been able to kill it. Mose thought, the opportunity that you gave me with the lair made me able to give opportunities to others. Shortly after, Sharon told everyone that he had quit his office job. Uncle seemed to have already suspected it, and Sharon explained, I think about my livelihood and decide to focus here because the pay here is much higher. Oh, I also have something I want to show you. Look at this, something I got recently. You can tell how many items there are just by looking at it, right? This is a rare rank item. You won't know how hard I to get it. Sharon took out a bow from his inventory and showed it to everyone there. As Mose looked at it, he thought, it's amazing. I know more than anyone else about how hard he struggled to find that item. Gil and Sharon are also trying their best in their respective fields. Compared to them, what about me? I keep saying that I have been struggling, but after getting the power of the Ruined Star and up until now, with extraordinary luck, I have obtained high-ranking relations, items, and skills more easily than others. At the same time, I fell into an illusion that made me think I could continue to rely on luck rather than putting in more effort. And even all of this is thanks to Lero. I continue to have good luck. Of course, like this until now, I said I would make more effort as long as I have the opportunity. I promised myself that I would enjoy the circuit like Gil and Sharon. I said all that, but what am I doing now? Right, I have to remember where I started. Suddenly, Mose said, it's been a long time since we gathered. Do you want to do a quest together? At that time, Mose did not know what kind of experience the quest would give them. The video ended with their group being surrounded by a group of monsters at the edge of a cliff. They looked panicked because they did not expect the situation to be like this when they were doing a quest together, removing all dangerous animal colonies in the mines of the Man Hill. The total number of monsters that needed to be removed was 1586, and there was still one thing that was a question mark. At the beginning of the video, after Sharon, the uncle, Gil, and Mose agreed to do a quest together, they were seen in a horse-drawn carriage heading to the quest location. The quest required them to remove all dangerous animal colonies in the mines of the Man Hill. A report about the dangerous animal colonies found in the largest mine in the Asparagan continent had been received. According to the investigation, the dangerous colonies were made of comins, and there was a risk of the mine area collapsing due to the rapid expansion of the colonies. Quick colony cleaning was needed on a wiper range scale, with difficulty B+. The reward was 5,500 gold proposed by the Lord of the Demon Castle, as well as other additional rewards. They were seen discussing the quest after seeing its description. Mose asked, "Does any one of them know about comins?" According to the book that Gil is reading, they are creatures that are still in the same family as Morse, who lives in the depths of another forest and lives in a herd of about a dozen. Hearing the explanation from the book, the uncle asked, "A dozen? Are we supposed to defeat all of those colonies?" Sharon added, "Yes, and the range is wiper, which means there are at least more than 500 monsters in total." Gil looked surprised when Sharon mentioned that there were more than 500 monsters that they had to remove. According to Mose, there must be one that leads the monsters. If their party can defeat the leader, the rest would not be a big problem. The uncle agreed with Mose's statement. Mose is right, and usually the leader is at the back row to observe the battle. In order to make him come out, our priority is to use advantageous areas. Gil became excited again and proposed, "Should we assign roles first?" Nona Sharon, go to the highlands and monitor the colony path, because I can use magic. I will try to help you, Hyung, and the uncle will protect Mose with his shield. Hearing about the role division, Mose seemed confused. Why were they all fixated on him? Sharon reasoned that Mose was the main factor of their party. Gil knew this might make Mose uncomfortable, but sorry, that was the plan with the highest chance of success. After considering for a while, Mose understood and agreed to the plan. Upon arriving at the mine, they immediately descended the stairs. After walking for a while, Sharon, who was at the front, stopped their path as she heard something from below. They paused briefly and, because they always heard the same thing, they thought they were in the right place and continued. However, after following the path, it stopped at a sizable cliff area that was right next to the abyss. When Gil warned everyone to be careful, a glowing eye suddenly jumped towards him. Sharon immediately shouted at Gil to move away, but due to confusion, Gil could not react. Fortunately, Mose quickly went there and held back the monster attacking Gil. Mose then struck back the monster, but when Uncle and Sharon approached Gil to check on him, many glowing eyes suddenly appeared around them. When they were all surprised to see so many eyes, a notification appeared detailing their quest. They had to eliminate 1,586 common monsters and something that was still unknown. Gil seemed very surprised to see the total number of monsters they had to deal with. Sharon yelled at Gil, "What are you doing? Go to your planned position." Hearing Sharon's shout, Gil quickly rushed to his position. However, due to too many monsters, Gil, who was still confused, could not react well when the monster attacked him. But quickly, Uncle intervened and blocked the monsters approaching Gil with one of his skills. Uncle stalled the monsters with his shield, but because there were too many monsters, the three of them ended up in a corner at the edge of the cliff. In the midst of this very dangerous situation, their plan had automatically fallen apart. Gil suddenly saw that Sharon was more cornered than the three of them. If Sharon became isolated, the three of them would not be able to help him. Seeing this, Mose shouted at Sharon to try to approach them, and Mose would distract the monsters. As Mose was distracting the monsters, Charon quickly leaped over the group of monsters and joined them. Although they were together again, Mose seemed even more confused because there were too many monsters, making it impossible to defeat them one by one. Gil began to show his despair, and his eyes began to lose focus. Although they tried to calm him down, he became even more panicked seeing their situation at that time. Their plan has been completely ruined, and now they are on the edge of a cliff, but Charon still shows determination to survive, as does the uncle who doesn't want to give up easily. At the very least, they must see their leader, but until now they haven't even caught a glimpse of the monster leader's nose. Mose wonders what he should do. Should I just try to break through? No, if we do that, we'll receive more damage. As Mose is pondering this, a notification appears telling him that he has defeated 100 monsters and the effect of Atoria Stigma has been activated. Mose can now use the skill Disastrous Flame, Solar Storm. Mose smiles as he sees the notification because it came at the right time. On the other hand, the uncle screams that he will try to protect them as much as possible, so run as much as possible, but suddenly Mose interrupts him. Wait, hand everything over to me, make sure you hold on to your shield tight, uncle. After Mose says this, he immediately advances towards the group of monsters and activates his skill. The uncle looks surprised to see Mose move forward, but what surprises him more is the skill that Mose uses, which manages to kill most of the monsters that they need to get rid of. At this point, they have eliminated 415 monsters by taking advantage of this momentum. Mose then immediately orders them to move forward while killing the monsters in front of them. Seeing Mose's amazing actions, the uncle, Gil, and Charon are all very impressed with his abilities. Seeing this, Charon thinks, I already knew that he was strong, but I didn't expect him to be able to kill hundreds of Comans at once. He really is very strong. After fighting for a while, Mose manages to defeat 957 common monsters. Mose yells, finally, we managed to eliminate half of their population. Is everyone okay? If so, let's hurry. Hearing Moses shout, they continue to eliminate the Coman monsters. They manage to work as a team and stop the momentum of the monsters, which reminds Mose of the past. However, they are suddenly startled by a notification that tells them there is only one thing left that they haven't eliminated yet. They become more vigilant. They thought they were getting closer to the boss area when Charon shouted, everyone, look over there. They all turned to the area Charon had pointed to, but were surprised to see someone behind the line of monsters. The person was being carried by one of the monsters, and they wondered if it was a human. Soon, the person got down from the monster's back and approached them. After getting closer, the person pointed at them and said, 2 hands and 2 feet? Humans? The person looked happy when saying that, and Mose approached them and asked who they were. The person explained that they were the one who fell and had 2 hands and 2 feet, but they fell due to a lump on their back, and their mother was pushing a horse on a cliff. Upon hearing this, the uncle looked very upset and angry. Mose asked if there were others besides them there, and the person confirmed that there were many, but they had all turned into skeletons, except for them. They asked Mose and Gil who they would throw away this time, and Gil immediately raised his voice and said they wouldn't throw anyone away. The person continued, saying that their mother had also said the same thing, but they didn't believe it because they had seen their friends killed by them. However, their friends had taken care of someone who had been thrown away like them, so they taught them how to live peacefully together. Their friends had promised to grant them one wish, and Mose asked what their wish was. The person suddenly smiled in a frightening way and answered, yes, I will destroy this cave. They were all shocked by the person's answer. Gil explained that if they destroyed the cave, the villages in the area would be buried, and all the residents would die. However, the person reasoned that there were more people thrown away than villagers left alive. The village leader had thrown away anyone with a lump and anyone without hands and feet. If they refused, the leader would kill their parents. They were all increasingly surprised to hear the reason why that person wanted to destroy the cave. They did not expect that King Fo had done such a thing. He threatened his people with his life and forced parents to abandon their children just to beautify the village. The uncle's anger was escalating. Sharon concluded, so that's why the villagers didn't seem too enthusiastic when we received this mission. They looked uncomfortable. That person threatened to go berserk if they hindered him. Hearing that, Mose and his party fell silent for a moment. Mose thought, although there is a tempting reward, Sharon, the uncle, and Gil will find it difficult to accept the current state of the quest. Most likely, they have never encountered a situation like this before. Their party had to make the best decision. They never thought they would encounter an enemy like this in a simple quest. Should they kill them all? The situation was very urgent, but is there another solution? In the midst of confusion, Mose asked the uncle what they should do. According to the uncle, is there another way out? What if we try to praise that person? Finally, Mose decided to talk to him. He approached the person and said, "First of all, I apologize for killing your friends. However, you cannot destroy this cave just like that. The village will be destroyed, and your mother will die. We will confront the evil king you mentioned so that no more children will be abandoned by their parents." Hearing Moses' explanation, the person who did not want his mother to be affected by the destruction of the cave began to understand and confirmed, will they confront the evil king? I don't want my friends to get hurt again. Mose continued, instead, you and your friends have to leave from here, so you can help the abandoned children in another place. And their conversation ended with a pinky promise made by Mose and that person. After that, Mose told everyone that he had a proposal. Some time passed, and they shifted to the Information Guild near the Demon Castle. It appears that Mose is communicating with someone through a communication ball item. After some small talk, Mose mentions that he has a mission that he wants to entrust to someone and uses the name Maxim as the applicant's name. Meanwhile, Sharon, the uncle, and Gil are still in the cave where they accompanied someone from the guild quest. After the guild member confirmed that all the common monsters had been eliminated, the guild member declared that they had completed their quest and gave a reward of 6,000 gold. After they finished their business there, they thought it might be best to go to Demon Castle, but Gil thought about whether everything was going smoothly for Mose, who had been in the cave when they were discussing the matter 2 hours ago. During their discussion, Mose proposed that they pursue both the quest's reward and revenge against the castle's ruler. Sharon agreed with the proposal, but Gil thought it was too greedy. The uncle replied that there must be a way to do it, and Mose explained that as they knew, the circuit in the game allowed for a very high level of freedom, meaning that anything they could imagine could happen as long as they followed the rules of the game. The essence of this quest is to eliminate all the common monsters, right? That's why I asked the kid to leave the mine. If everything goes according to my plan, we can get revenge and receive all the rewards at the same time. We switch to a group of people led by a horse-riding person who is entering Demon Castle. When the group enters the castle, the locals start talking about them. They're members of the Knight's army, right? Are they finally here to punish the castle ruler? When the group stops, the person on the horse shouts while brandishing his sword, "Demon Castle ruler, run. I'm here to investigate all of your wrongdoings." Mose, who is with his team and is also there, thinks that he arrived at the right time. It turns out that the person on horseback is Kia, a sweet companion of Mose's sworder. Hearing the commotion outside his castle, Castle Ruler Larry comes out and walks while saying, so surprising, that honored guests are willing to visit this unpleasant castle. The locals who saw their ruler come out to meet Kia seemed frightened. One of the locals suddenly prostrated himself and explained, "Miss, please listen to my explanation. My daughter has the most beautiful pair of eyes I've ever seen. I received a threat saying that I would be killed if I didn't leave my daughter at the mine just because she has some kind of abnormality." Seeing one of his locals plead, the other locals began to express their grievances to the newly arrived group. After hearing their grievances, one of the people who came with Kia removed his hood, revealing that he was Mr. Hire. Mr. Hire said, "Oh my, it feels like we don't need to look for any evidence. The ruler of Castle Leary, who is grieving, is telling the truth, right?" After seeing Mr. Hire, who is a member of the 14 Holy Knight Army, Larry said, "Ah, a member of the 14 Holy Knight Army. I was curious about your identity. No one is more loyal to this country than me, a great warrior who helps make the country great. Those who are cursed from birth have no place in this country. That is why this law was established with the authority of the ruler. The feudal policy of this territory cannot be disturbed unless the emperor himself intervenes." Suggestions and OM, who heard Larry's explanation, looked very angry. They didn't expect him to be so cruel. Mr. Hire replied to Larry's words, "Is that so? But there is a problem. My goal is not to disturb you about that. I came because I heard an interesting rumor that there is a mission given by the Information Guild to a sorter, and the content of the mission is to take revenge against a ruler." Larry looked surprised by Mr. Hire's words. "What? A sorter? Who dares to make a request to harm the ruler of the castle? Arrest them now." Larry immediately ordered his knights to capture Mr. Hire and his people. Seeing Larry's disrespectful behavior towards him, Mr. Hire immediately shouted, "Now, Larry, why are you acting like this in front of me? I am a heir of the 14 Holy Knight Army and a faithful servant to the saint. According to the law he made, all your words are deviant. People like you unknowingly pollute the continent without realizing who the real insects are." But Larry insisted on his dignity. "How dare you insult me as a ruler of the castle?" Mr. Hire, who was already angry, emitted an electric aura around him and said firmly, "What? I have run out of patience dealing with your behavior. Look carefully at who is standing in front of you. But since this is not my mission, I will not interfere any further." Mr. Hire calmed down and suppressed his anger with his smile. While Larry was confused about Mr. Hire's behavior, something suddenly enveloped his body. When it stuck to his neck quickly, Kia beheaded Larry. At first, the citizens who saw the incident were scared, but when they confirmed that Larry had died, they were all overjoyed and thanked the knights. Shortly after, a notification appeared to the people partying with Mose, indicating that they had successfully completed their quest. Initially, the uncle was not sure if Mose's plan would work, but now he believed that a quest could be completed in such a way. Continue yesterday's story. Then Sharon called Mose, and she found a paper inside the mine that the person had left for Mose. Mose accepted it and read, "My fiery friend, first of all, thank you. As we promised, let's go after going towards that big hole. I never saw clearly because I was scared, but there was a big ship there. Go and see." While Mose was thinking about the big ship mentioned by the person, someone called him from behind. It turned out to be Kia. She complained to Mose that the place was very far from her home, but when Kia was about to complain more, Mose approached her, smiled and said, "It's been a long time since we met, right? I miss you, Kia." Seeing Mose's behavior, Kia was stunned and did not continue to complain. A little while later, Mose and Kia were seen in a bar with their party mates, drinking and chatting. While Mose and Kia were talking, Sharon suddenly asked Kia, "What is your relationship with Mose, Kia?" Kia looked a little confused by the question and replied, "Relationship? How should I put it? If I have to choose a word, I think we are work colleagues, haha, other players would think the same, right?" As if hit by a large hammer, or like thousands of arrows piercing him, Mose was slapped by the reality that he was only considered a work colleague by Kia. The uncle immediately comforted Mose, who looked devastated. While sipping his drink, Mose thought, "I thought it would be more special than that, but what can I do? I have to focus on others for now. By the way, I have to visit the underground mine again before we leave." Time passed after reality hit him. Mose returned to the mine, and when he entered the mine, he saw that the place seemed to be cleaner, perhaps because Mose's party had completed their quest. Mose walked towards a river, thinking, "Is this the place mentioned in the letter? Is the ship really here?" But he didn't see it. Oh, suddenly something emerged from under the river. The video ended with Mose looking very surprised when he saw something emerge from under the river. It turned out to be a fairly large ship. Mose was shocked by its appearance and couldn't believe the ship was really in front of him. Then a notification appeared, "Ruins found, the ship of the Sky Lord." After Mose found the big ship, he received a notification that he had found the ruins of the ship of the Sky Lord and he could use his skill, Lucky Ruin, to turn the ship's ruins into a core. Although Mose looked a little surprised that he could turn such a large ship into a core, he immediately did it after activating his skill. The big ship in front of him shone and turned into a small core the size of a takraw ball in front of Mose. The core describes, its name is Sky Lord, its class is a vehicle with a legendary rank, and its output is 140,000 magic power, equivalent to 2 super large gravitational crystals. Its maximum speed can reach up to 861 km per hour, equivalent to the speed of a gainer chasing its prey, with a rotation speed of 102, equivalent to a rain cloud meeting the goddess of wind. Its maximum passenger capacity is 850 people. After a while, Mose left mine and met someone who greeted him. The person was Lord Hire from the 14 Holy Knights army. Finally, we meet again. I don't know how many times we have met. I am both interested and surprised at the same time. This is the first time I have met someone who is immortal repeatedly, said Lord Hire. Mose also did not expect Lord Hire to be there. Lord Hire explained that his troops were monitoring the demon castle. Then Mose asked if Lord Hire would hold Kia responsible for what she had done, but it seemed that Lord Hire did not understand the meaning of Mose's words. Responsible for what? Asked Lord Hire. Mose explained, based on the basic principles of the Order of 14 Holy Knights, she has committed a sin. Hearing that, Lord Hire said, "Yes, you are right, the Order of 14 Holy Knights indeed acts based on its basic principles, but you should know that I am also a human being like you." The scenery at that time was quite refreshing. I really hate people who control others through fear and terror. That's why I want to thank you and the young swordsman. See you. After saying that, Lord Hire immediately left Mose. While looking at Lord Hire's departure, Mose thought, a human being just like me, huh? Time passed, and Mose returned to the inn, where he met Kia, who had just woken up from her sleep. Kia looked a little dizzy when she woke up, perhaps because she had drunk too much last night, but thanks to that, Kia managed to make a friend. Mose was also grateful for that if Kia already considered them friends. While walking, Kia said, "Mose, I like players because their minds are not confined to this world. They don't care about your race, they treat me like an ordinary person, and that's what I appreciate and like about you too. It's time for lunch, let's hurry." Mose seemed to be thinking about his feelings for Kia again and followed her downstairs for lunch with the others. After they were in the cafeteria and had lunch together, Mose was asked about his next plan. He thought he would look for the next quest and asked if they wanted to join him again or not. Upon hearing the invitation, Uncle immediately agreed, and Gil said the same thing. If there was Mose, they didn't need to worry about anything. Sharon heard that and immediately invited everyone to hurry up, even though she was still biting her sandwich. It seemed that Sharon was the most enthusiastic among them. Finally, the three of them rushed to their respective rooms to get ready to leave. Mose and Kia were still there, and Kia asked Mose where they were going this time. Mose, who hadn't thought about the details of his plan, simply said that they were going back to the city of Asparagon. Upon hearing this, Kia's face looked sad, and then Mose reached out his hand, inviting Kia to come with them. Kia was silent for a moment upon hearing Mose's invitation, and then she smiled sweetly and accepted it. A few moments later, they were now boarding a ship owned by Mose previously. The uncle, Sharon, and Gil looked amazed when they saw the ship. In addition to its very large size, the interior was also very luxurious. While everyone was admiring the ship's interior, Kia asked Mose where he got the ship from. Mose laughed and then answered that he accidentally found it on the side of the road. Kia, who was curious, asked about the elf behind Mose, and since he forgot, Mose introduced her. "Oh, let me introduce her. Her name is Elsa. She is the foundation and core of the ship, and she is a fairy from Layer 3. Elsa immediately greeted Kia. "Hello, I am flying this ship under my new master's command, Mose. We will arrive at our destination, Asparagon, shortly." Kia looked somewhat surprised and amazed when Elsa spoke to her, then she conveyed that they would arrive soon, and Mose was also somewhat surprised because it was faster than he expected. A few moments later, they had arrived in Asparagon, and after parking their ship, they got out of it. On the way, Kia asked if Mose was a wizard from the White Tower in disguise. Of course, Mose denied that. Then Mose invited them all to go directly to the Adventurers Guild, but upon arriving there, they were surprised to see a lot of people in front of the Adventurers Guild. With some difficulty, Mose tried to enter the crowd, and when he was right in front of the Adventurers Guild's entrance, he asked the person from the guild who was guarding there, "Is there a problem?" The person explained, "We apologize for this sudden decision. All Adventurers Guilds on this continent will be closed temporarily." When they asked about the reason, suddenly someone shouted, "Everyone, go to the square now." Upon hearing the person's shout, even though they didn't know the reason, everyone in front of the Adventurers Guild immediately went to the square. When they all arrived at the square, they saw a live stream screen that was still active. At first, they thought it was just a live stream channel for a circuit mukbang. However, there was something strange because the live stream showed something like a human corpse. They wondered if this was a prank or just a content. As everyone was wondering what was happening there, suddenly someone spoke from their live stream, "We have successfully hacked it. Players will not be able to stop this live stream. I announce to you, immortals, you have come to our land without permission. Who gave you the right to do that? Belika, the sun god, or Valus, the moon god? None of them. You have entered this world without anyone's permission. Of course, no one needs your presence because you have colonized our world. You have trampled on us, robbed us, and looted us. Do you think we will just sit back and watch these heinous acts? Witness the last scene of those who cannot escape to their own world. Players, immortals, I, Lydorn, the Prince of Logis, declare war against you." While everyone was shocked, angry, frustrated, and scared after seeing the stream, even Kia, who is a native of that world, felt the same way. A notification appeared that an event quest was activated. The large-scale group quest was called Prince of Rebellion with a difficulty level of S. The objective was to defeat Lydorn, the unusual genius. History says that Lydorn, the prince of the Logis kingdom, had left his public reputation as someone calm and dignified. Now, he has directed his sword towards players with hatred. Wait, why did Lydorn, the wise one, draw his sword against innocent players? Of course, not all players are good. Some players commit crimes and enjoy it because they cannot do so in their world. This is Lydorn's response to troll players who are very few among the immortals who have caused cruelty and crimes in this world. After the incident, the Game Circuit website was in a panic state. Many players considered it a simple event, but some expressed concerns about the AI or virtual artificial intelligence being too realistic. From the Circuit community, many people sent words to show sympathy to the Circuit TV. A thread that understood Lydorn appeared from time to time. Using any means, players quickly started to look for parties for the quest. Nearly millions of players have gathered to defeat and stop the tyrant, Lydorn. We switched to Mose, who was on his ship. As Mose was looking out the window while thinking about yesterday's events, Kia approached him and handed him a cup of keffel tea that she had made. Mose received his tea, looked at it, and then asked Kia about her opinion on recent events after taking a sip of his tea. Kia said, "It did surprise me a bit, but nothing crossed my mind about the incident. Maybe because I am used to being on the battlefield since birth so that I would not be abandoned by my parents. I became food for wolves so that I could survive as a slave, so as not to lose to people who cursed my blood as a half-elf. When talking about a war like that, it was difficult to keep myself safe, so I didn't have time to think about other people's wars." Hearing that, Mose apologized. He should have said something to comfort her instead of asking something tragic like that. However, Kia didn't care and continued, "It's already okay, everything is in the past. According to a wizard in this world, in unstable conditions, many other dimensions are opened and closed, and all other races not from this world come from those holes, including elves. It seems that there were many battles at the beginning, but now the two civilizations have united. However, discrimination against mixed races such as half-elves still exists. This time, immortals like you, Moz, have emerged. They are the ones who dare and have the courage to create chaos because of their nature, but civilization has developed thanks to them. Many people here like players. Moz looked surprised to hear Kia's story and asked, "So, Kia, what is your opinion about players?" As I said, I quite like them because they don't see me as a mixed race or half-elf, only as Kia. You are one of the players, Moz, Kia said with a meaningful smile. Moz was taken aback by the smile, his face turned red, and he thanked Kia for considering him that way. Kia was curious about what it would be like if all players understood people from this world like Moz and his other friends. Moz thought that some players didn't understand them, which was why people like Lydorn existed in this world. Lydorn must have suffered their own pain, and it was unfortunate to see someone who had suffered through pain inflict harm on innocent people, no matter the reason. I will stop you, Lydorn, Moz thought to himself. After a while, we switched to a plane where there were so many corpses scattered around, as if a battle had just taken place. One surviving player was there, although he had lost one of his hands. He looked scared and hopeless. It seemed impossible to see combined player and NPC forces defeated easily by the Black Griffin's cavalry, and the man became the last person killed by the cavalry. We switched to a streamer who was discussing a recent event that was held at a circuit. We just heard that the Rose Holly Guild, which left early for the event, had lost decisively. Right after the battle, Prince Lydorn led the cavalry and attacked Koika, the Guild of Magical Temples. Moz and his party members who were with Kia also heard the news, and they concluded that the situation was getting more serious at that time. Moz felt that they should join forces and help those people. Uncle asked Moz if he planned to start fighting now. According to Moz, that was what they should do. Then Moz asked, "What about the three of you? You are free to do whatever, but it will be dangerous." The three of them remained silent for a moment and then looked at each other before deciding they wanted to follow Moz. Moz was surprised by their decision. Uncle reasoned, "Of course, we realize that we are weaker than you, Moz, but if you are the one leading us, then we are ready to follow you." Sharon added, "Right, we need a leader, and I think that leader is you, Moz." Gil agreed with that too, Sharon is right. Who else if not you, Moz Hyung? Moz looked reluctant when given such a big responsibility. When Moz was about to argue that he was not someone worthy of leading them, he saw Kia nodding her head. Moz fell silent for a moment and then said, "But it is true that the situation is getting more dangerous with each passing second. If you really want to trust me, please fight with me." Uncle, Sharon, and Gil gave their support. "Of course, we will join. Why should we be afraid if you are the one leading, Moz? I will follow you to the ends of the earth." Kia also gave her respect. "I am Kia, Sorter of Asparagon. I will not ask anyone but you about the whereabouts of its handle." With that, Moz became even more confident. He thanked them all and promised to always stand in front. They could all trust and follow him. We switched to a group of people in a very large grassland area. One of them asked their companion, "What is the situation now?" The companion said they had 20 tankers, 10 of which had low HP. As the person thought about how to stop the attack, a crystal communication ball on their waist rang, and someone spoke from the ball, "Can you hear me? If so, please answer. This is Tiger King. Most of us have fallen. How is the situation over there?" The person held their crystal ball and said, "The situation is the same. We are almost defeated. We cannot fight for much longer." Tiger wanted to suggest, "For the time being, let us join forces. We are currently on the riverbank on the plateau. As the person understood the proposal and tried to join Tiger, their companion suddenly shouted, "Look over there, they're coming again." The player pointed to a group of soldiers riding griffins heading towards their location. Upon seeing the army, they were in disbelief that the army would arrive so quickly. Another player immediately shouted to run to the nearby high ground and join another group of players. The player who shouted decided to hold off the army to buy time for his comrades to escape. However, the army quickly caught up to him and the sailor resigned himself to his impending death when suddenly someone recited the mantra Atra Jack Chrono and a light suddenly shone that stopped the Griffin army in its tracks. The person then instructed the player who intended to sacrifice himself to join his comrades. The player thanked him and ran towards his companions. The players who had already run stopped in their tracks upon seeing the magic performed by the newcomer. Upon seeing his outfit, they thought to themselves, "Wait, he's that person, right?" The first player to enter the White Tower, the sorcerer who ranked third in the official rankings, Callion. We switched to a camp established by the players where several players were seen discussing. The blue-haired one appeared angry and slammed the table in front of him upon seeing the information that the combined player and NPC forces could easily be defeated by a small number of soldiers. Callion asserted, "You saw it for yourself, right? So it's best not to treat them like ordinary NPC troops." Fortunately, many people survived in this situation. However, one of the blue-haired subordinates disagreed with his statement. "Fortunate? Our guild is completely destroyed. What were you doing behind the scenes while they were destroying us?" Callion's subordinate couldn't let the rudeness slide and immediately grabbed the collar of the person who spoke. "Watch your tone. Do you even know who you're talking to?" Upon seeing the two of them fighting in the middle of such a critical situation, Callion immediately intervened because it was not the time to be selfish. They had to build their defenses as quickly as possible. Suddenly, the people in the camp heard the commotion from outside. Upon hearing the noise, they immediately stopped their activities and went out of the camp. They saw the army approaching, so one of the players shouted, "They're coming. All remaining tanks go to the front line, and DPS goes to the back line. Hurry! Do you all want to die like this? Hey, you there, tankers, don't forget to bring your armor and recover your health and mana." The players immediately prepared for the imminent battle. Callion, who saw the enemy army and knew how powerful they were, thought to himself, "Can we win this?" On the other side, in the prince's army, the Logis Prince Lydorn was addressing his troops, "I apologize to you, my old friends. I have forsaken my country, throne, and even my honor. Yet, you all have chosen to follow me and remain loyal to me. Even the Sun God's army dared not oppose us. I have given my soul to Ain, my woman, who has been defiled by those damn players. Soldiers who follow this hateful prince, advance. I am willing to bear all your shame even to the depths of hell. I would die 100 times more for you. Black griffins, spread your wings." With the prince's signal, all the griffin soldiers charged forward, and the battle between Prince Lydorn's troops and the temporary alliance of the players' circuit began. The battle seemed to be unbalanced, with Prince Lydorn's troops dominating the alliance of the players' circuit. The tankers fought with all their might to resist the prince's soldiers, but their opponents were riding on powerful griffin creatures. The players' defense was easily penetrated, causing their formations to become chaotic. In the midst of such conditions, Callion thought to himself, "Oh no, my goodness, my mana points are running low. If this continues, we will all be wiped out. What should I do?" Suddenly, a notification appeared in front of Callion, indicating that Elsa was asking for mana assistance from him. She required 1,000 mana points. Seeing the notification, Callion thought, who could be so strong as to ask for 1,000 mana points among the players? I can't recall. But there's no time to hesitate. I have no other choice but to agree. After Callion confirmed Elsa's request, a large airship suddenly appeared in the sky above the battlefield. The airship fired its light shower cannon, targeting a maximum of 1871 people. Inside the airship, Elsa was seen adjusting the target of the cannon. After selecting the target, the cannon was fired, and everyone fighting there was surprised by the arrival of the airship. What surprised them even more was that the airship attacked Prince Lydorn's troops. At that moment, one of the players shouted, "What are you waiting for? Attack them while they're still confused." On the other side, Moe's and Kia's party, which was on the airship, was preparing to join the battle. Moe's asked, "Are you ready? We have to join them. Let's go down." They immediately jumped from the airship onto the battlefield below and charged forward, killing Prince Lydorn's soldiers who stood before them. The direction of the battle changed after their arrival. Now the alliance of the players' circuit could counterattack Prince Lydorn's troops. As Moe's continued to advance, he was almost hit by one of Prince Lydorn's soldiers. Fortunately, a magical attack killed the soldier who was about to attack Moe's. It turned out that the one who saved Moe's was Callion, who said, "Thank you so much. We could have been in a worse situation. My name is Callion, and I never thought there was a player with such a large floating ship." Moe shook Callion's hand, and Callion introduced himself. However, suddenly Kia shouted at both of them, "Hey, you two, this is not the time for you to greet each other like that." Upon hearing the shout, both of them immediately realized the situation and intended to talk again later. Moe's returned to following the rhythm of his attack, but he thought, "Their attacks are fast, this is not as easy as I thought. These soldiers are very strong, and each of them is a killing machine. If so, I have to use that skill." And Moe's then used his Atoria swordsmanship ability, but while Moe's was focusing on his technique, he unconsciously stepped too far into the area controlled by Prince Lydorn's troops. When Moe's was trying to defend himself there, he was pressed hard by the prince's troops until Moe's was pushed back, and his back hit someone. When Moe's turned around, he saw Kia behind him and asked, "Kia, are you okay?" Kia nodded her head. Then, Moe's held his sword tightly and continued, "Don't worry, Kia, I will definitely protect you." Upon hearing Moe's words, Kia smiled and then left Moe's, saying, "No, thank you, I can take care of myself." "So take care of yourself, Moe's." Moe's thought, "Right, of course, Kia, so I have to do what I can." The video ended as Moe's was preparing to fight again. He looked surprised to see the figure he had seen on the previous streaming screen. Moe's said, "Finally, we meet Lydorn," and on the hill in front of Moe's, Prince Logis stood with hatred. At the beginning of the video, Moe's and Lydorn, who had already looked at each other before, rushed at each other immediately, and they clashed their mechanics even though they had just met then. However, due to the huge level difference between them, Moe's couldn't hold Lydorn's sword for too long, and because of that, Moe's gap was easily opened and Lydorn swung his sword. Moe's, who was hit by the attack, was immediately thrown backward. He was also affected by Stone's effect so that he couldn't move for a while. But Lydorn used the momentum well by approaching Moe's and swinging his sword again. Seeing Moe's unable to move, the uncle who happened to be near Moe's immediately rushed over there and blocked Lydorn's sword. Of course, the uncle's defense was not comparable to the strength of Lydorn's attack. The effect of the attack made the uncle bleed from his body. Seeing the uncle in front of him, Lydorn said, "How foolish of you to block me. Do you know why I am called the White Wolf of Logis? Because those who dare to block me always face my fangs, the White Wolf." After saying that, a sword suddenly appeared from above the uncle and stabbed him directly in the chest before the uncle was forced to log out. The uncle's last words to Moe's were, "Ouch, dying with one strike? It hurts so much, I think I'll go first, Moe's." After the uncle's departure, Lydorn raised his sword at Moe's and said, "Now it's your turn to die." Seeing the uncle stabbed in front of him, Moe's anger exploded. He activated the Atoria set effect and activated the Solar Rampage skill, a class-restricted active skill that can be activated after completing the Atoria set and activated in the form of force activation when in a state of anger. 3% of HP will be used every second, and the user of the skill will die when the HP is depleted. HP cannot be restored even if consuming or using magic for recovery. If the Solar Rampage effect has not disappeared, all statistics other than HP will increase according to the amount of HP used. With a fiery sword in his hand, Mose shouted, "I will try my hardest to defeat you," and they continued their fight. The effect of the Solar Rampage skill increased Mose's strength and speed stats temporarily for every 10% HP consumed. For example, if the Solar Rampage skill has consumed more than 10% of Mose's HP, his strength and speed stats will increase by 50 points. If it has consumed 20%, the stats that increase are 100 points, and so on. In the middle of their fight, Lydorn thought, he seems to be getting stronger over time. When the Solar Rampage skill consumed 30% of Mose's HP, he successfully attacked Lydorn and sent him flying far away. Lydorn, who had crashed into a cliff, said while looking down, "It seems like immortals also know how to feel angry about the death of a friend." Mose shouted, "Shut up," and charged forward again, but Lydorn met his attack. As their swords clashed, Lydorn continued, "Your friend is an immortal who can come back to life, right? If he can feel anger over that misfortune, do you dare to imagine my anger when I have to say goodbye forever?" Lydorn's anger increased as he attacked Mose more recklessly. His level rose rapidly, from level 175 to level 235. Mose, who was constantly under pressure, could only try to hold on as best he could. Mose thought, "It's impossible. He's already strong enough, but now he's getting even stronger." Lydorn shouted again, "Players, your immortals are villains. You don't deserve to set foot on this land. So die now. This is the punishment I will give you, player." Like the uncle before him, Lydorn used his skill, a skill that could shoot a sword from behind his enemy. Since both of Mose's hands were focused on holding Lydorn's sword in front of him, he could not stop the sword aimed at him from behind. The sword successfully pierced Mose and knocked him down. Lydorn continued, "You are not the owners of this world, but why do you have the audacity to destroy our world? Why do you decide the fate of the people I love with your dirty hands? Answer me, immortal." When Lydorn was in the middle of his rage, Charon and Gil suddenly arrived to help Mose. Lydorn knew that both Charon and Gil were valuable to Mose, so he stared sharply at Gil and activated his skill. Mose yelled at them to run away, but it was too late. A sword had already pierced Gil from behind. Charon, who was standing next to Gil, looked confused, panicked, and frightened. Lydorn could easily kill Gil, and he targeted Charon next, saying, "Let the pain seep in when my sword wounds the ones you love." Although Mose tried to stop Lydorn by yelling at him, his skill had already been activated and a sword had appeared behind Charon. In the midst of Charon's confusion and fear, she couldn't react to the sword. But a few seconds before the sword hit her, somehow Kalyan appeared behind Charon and then disappeared right in front of Mose and Lydorn's eyes. Meanwhile, dark clouds began to move across the sky above the battlefield, and rain began to fall, soaking the combatants' bodies. While wiping the rain off herself, Kia accidentally caught a glimpse of Mose facing off against Lydorn. Mose grabbed Lydorn by the collar and asked him to stop all of this chaos. However, Lydorn's eyes showed no doubt, only indifference. Lydorn said, "Stop what? You hypocrite. Selfish. Cursed monsters who have abused the blessings of the blind Bellica, the grief you feel as a being with infinite life in this world is nothing more than false emotions, especially since it only takes a few days for those who have died to return to this world. The life of my beloved Aim was taken by the immortals, the same players as you. They keep coming back no matter how many of them I kill. But do you know what they say in the end? They say let's stop playing this game. That's right. It's just a passing breeze for all of you." Hearing Lydorn's explanation, Mose could not deny what he said as it was in line with the facts. Mose began to imagine what Lydorn said based on what he had experienced. This made Mose's desire to fight fade away, so his skill, Solar Rampage, was disabled. Even so, Mose still tried to deny Lydorn's claims that not all players were like that. Lydorn immediately refuted him, saying, "But it's always only you players who act this way, not taking responsibility at all. That's why I came to solve this problem. Now, are you still sure you have the right to stop me? Are you able to handle my anger?" Mose thought about all of this again. What Lydorn said was true, but he couldn't back down now. He was the only one who could fight back at the moment, even though his Solar Rampage skill had been non-activated. Mose had to be able to stop Lydorn. Shortly after that, Lydorn and Mose clashed swords again. When Mose thought he saw an opening from Lydorn and prepared to attack, Lydorn asked, "Are you sure what you saw as an opening is actually an opening? Deciding too quickly is the same as inviting your own death." It turned out to be a feint by Lydorn, and Mose fell for it. He couldn't avoid Lydorn's skill, and a sword appeared from behind Mose and immediately slashed his shoulder. Due to the attack, Mose's HP was reduced to only 20%, and he fell to the ground, unable to believe the damage he had taken. He thought to himself, "Is this really how it ends?" As Mose lay there, someone suddenly called out his name. It was Kia. Mose immediately recognized her voice and realized that she was calling out to him. Kia shouted, "Wait for me. I'll be there soon." Mose and Lydorn both looked in the direction of the voice. Upon seeing Kia, Lydorn immediately realized that she was not an immortal. Mose, understanding Lydorn's intentions, immediately shouted at Kia to get away from there. Lydorn pointed his sword at Kia and asked, "Do you know that this person is a player?" Kia stopped in her tracks and answered that she knew. Lydorn asked her, "Are you willing to risk your precious life for this immortal?" Kia paused for a moment, and despite Mose's attempts to stop her, she smiled and answered, "Of course. He is someone special to me, and even though he is an immortal, I won't let you get near him, even for a second. So, I am willing to put my life on the line to save Mose. The fact that he is an immortal is not important to me, but that doesn't mean I'm interfering with your plans and goals, because that's your choice that you've shown." Kia lifted her sword. However, upon hearing Kia's answer, Lydorn had already decided that Kia was also his enemy. He looked sharply at Kia and activated his skill. A sword appeared above Kia, ready to strike her. Seeing Kia in danger, Mose threw his sword towards the sword that was about to strike Kia, so that Kia could still survive. Lydorn was surprised by Mose's action and immediately looked sharply at him. As Lydorn approached Mose and swung his sword, Mose summoned another sword and positioned his hand towards Lydorn. When Sharma's sword appeared, it immediately pierced Lydorn, who was right in front of Mose. Lydorn appeared to be shocked by the appearance of the sword that pierced him before collapsing. In his last moments, Lydorn said, "Do you really think this is over? I am but a spark that ignites a small fire. My job here is done. Soon, another spark will ignite another fire." Lydorn took his last breath on the battlefield, accompanied by the heavy rain in front of Mose and Kia. As Lydorn died, a notification appeared indicating that their quest was completed. The Prince of Rebellion had successfully eliminated the main target, Lydorn, and the system began to distribute rewards automatically. Mose gained 2 levels from this. He then heard Kia calling him and quickly turned to approach her. Mose seemed a bit angry and asked Kia why she did what she did. He warned her that if she died, he would be devastated. Kia touched Mose's face and explained that it had to be done to defeat Lydorn. Mose embraced Kia gently and told her never to do something like that again. Kia hugged Mose tightly and said, "Okay, let's pray for his departure." Mose glanced at Lydorn's body and agreed with Kia's suggestion. After Lydorn's shocking story, many changes occurred in the circuit, the Logical Empire, and the surrounding countries. Lidale, an anti-player group, quickly formed, claiming to continue Lydorn's will. They blamed the players for the suffering caused by their actions. Meanwhile, the White Tower announced a magic stigma that allowed anyone, including NPCs and players, to identify troll players. Guild information placed bounties on troll players detected through the video. players and NPCs who called themselves bounty hunters began to emerge and hunt them down. There was a troll-sanctioned path dedicated to punishing disruptive players. As for Moze, Skylord became a hot topic in various communities, and he could no longer use it freely. Fortunately, people were still arguing about whether the ship belonged to a player or an NPC. But if it weren't for that, Moze might have been in a situation where he couldn't move freely, and they would argue among themselves just because of such a small matter. After the battle against Lydorn, Moze's heart felt heavy. Kia helped him recover, and she suggested that Moze visit her home during the holiday. So they were now heading to Kia's home in Azuris. After Moze checked the circuit communication website, Elsa informed him that the training preparations had been completed, so Moze went straight to his training place on his airship. Upon arriving there, Elsa told him that she would give a reinforcement magic to the wall on the lowest floor. After Moze got ready, he immediately started his training by summoning Sharma in his left hand and then another sword in his right hand, a sword that he obtained after defeating Lydorn, named Korma. This sword was used to kill Moze's comrades. A little description of the sword: the engraved 11-sword Korma was of legendary rank, a longsword class, created by Lavager with a weight of 9.8 kilograms. Its attack power with one hand was from 654 to 671 points, and with both hands, it was from 881 to 968 points. When its effect is finished, the sword will disappear and be automatically engraved on the user's hand, similar to Sharma. Because Moze got the Korma sword, he also learned a new skill thanks to the effect set of the engraved sword. The effect of the two sets, Sharma and Korma, caused all engraved summon skills to change to will summon, obtaining the active skill Gua, which increases the power effect of the engraved sword by 8%. Gua is an active skill that allows the user to shoot the sword through rune commands. The biggest advantage is that Moze now has a way to attack from a distance, which even increases his attack power. But there is a problem: when the sword flies back to Moze, he can grasp Sharma with his left hand, but it still feels difficult to grasp Korma in his right hand simultaneously. Even though he sometimes succeeds in holding both swords at the same time, Moze always loses his balance afterwards. Moze, who stood up after falling due to his inability to control his skill, looked very angry because he still couldn't control it correctly. If it continued like this, Moze thought he would not be able to protect anyone and would only see the people who believed in him die in front of him, and in the end, Moze would lose everything. He had to become stronger. He couldn't stop there. Therefore, Moze intended to keep trying until he could control it. A few moments passed, and it seemed that Moze had decided to finish his training. As he walked out of the training area, Moze was still thinking about his training when he was surprised to see Kia waiting for him. Kia asked, "Are you finished? Look at you, your clothes are all dirty. Take this and go take a shower, then put this on. This is the clothing we wear in my hometown. You have to wear clothes like this because we are going to my hometown." Moze caught the clothes that Kia threw to him, which was an Azuran traditional style t-shirt. Moze thanked Kia and went to take a shower and change his clothes. As he walked away, Moze thought, "I have to become stronger so I can protect the people I love." We shift to a group of people who were doing a video transaction, which ends with the blue-haired person asking his subordinate, "Did you bring the goods?" His subordinate replied, "Yes, Director. I just got it today, so it's still very fresh." After taking the mentioned goods from his subordinate, the blue-haired person said, "Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is why I can't stop playing the circuit." Moze and Kia have arrived at Kia's hometown, Free City Azuris. Moze is amazed by the city's surroundings, and his attention is drawn to a towering white building in front of him. Kia explains that it is the White Tower of Free City Azuris, where alchemists from Rust and secret followers of the Empire had once conducted limitless experiments. After these experiments, the area became uninhabitable, but the Geisha sect of elves blessed the barren land with their souls as payment, and that is how Free City Azuris originated. The city is named Free City because the people there have no ruler. As they walk around the city, they continue their conversation. Upon hearing this, Mose asks, "There's no ruler? What happens if there is a crime here?" Kia replies, "Then representatives from each race will gather to carry out the trial. These representatives are called the adults of Azuris. That's why you can hear various opinions from different races." While imagining Kia's words, Mose thinks, "Interesting. Not long ago, I played this game just to make money, but I received many blessings I didn't deserve. I met friends and tried to party up, and through my journey, I succeeded in joining an organization called Sorters. As Mose and Li Ki-ho, I began to form valuable relationships with others. In the last battle against Lydorn, I finally gathered my determination to protect these people." However, Mose's daydream is interrupted when Kia shouts to him, "What are you thinking about, Mose?" Mose casually responds with a smile, "Oh, nothing." Kia then takes Mose's hand and says, "Well, let's go. There are still many places I want to show you." Seeing Kia's smile on her face, Mose becomes more certain of his decision. He thinks, after seeing her smile, "I swear to myself that I will protect her with all my might." A few moments later, after exploring the city with Kia, they decide to visit a bar to rest. As Kia and Mose enjoy their drinks, someone suddenly approaches their table. "Oh, who is this? I haven't seen you in a while, Kia." It turns out to be Kia's old friend named Laurad. "Mose, this is my friend Laurad. He's a bird with the biggest ears in Azuris and a vocalist who never forgets a sound he's heard." With that, Mose and Laurad introduce themselves, but as they shake hands, Laurad suddenly asks, "You're a sorter too? What brings you to Azuris?" Hearing Laurad's words, Kia explained that they came there only for vacation, not for work. Laurad seemed relieved and said, "Oh, is that so? I'm sorry for being cautious." Kia continued, "I understand that sorters often bring trouble." However, it seemed that Laurad had a different suspicion about their arrival. "That's why I thought you came alone to investigate the incident," Laurad said, changing the situation. Kia, who was curious, immediately asked, "Incident? What incident?" Laurad pulled out an object from his pocket and asked, "Can you see this?" It was a black granule wrapped in paper. At first, Mose thought it might be just an ordinary pill, but Laurad explained that this object, called Venesic, was a new type of drug that could be absorbed through the skin. It was very easy to find it in Azuris, and even children could get it if they wanted to. Kia and Mose were both surprised to learn that the black granule was a new type of drug. Kia was puzzled by this and asked, "But drugs are prohibited by the adult of Azuris, they can't just let this object be sold freely." Laurad continued, "As you know, many players have gathered in Azuris, and this city has become prosperous thanks to the factory they built. The situation was still good at that time, but I don't know exactly when in every bar this Venesic drug started to be sold, and the people who sell this drug are." Just as Laurad was about to mention their names, several men entered the bar they were in, led by a man with a neck tattoo and piercings. Since we didn't know his name, let's call him Sunio because he looked similar to Sunio. Laurad looked surprised when he turned to see their arrival, while continuing to watch the men. He said, "Those are the people who sell this drug. They operate as a guild and also have a large potion factory, and I think that factory is where they produce their drugs." While listening to Laurad's explanation, Mose looked at them sharply because those people were players just like him. Kia did the same thing, and asked, "What is their guild name?" Laurad answered, "Their guild is called the Pickup Artist." We then move to a very crowded nightclub, where many young people are spending their free time. In a room there, a director is asking his subordinates, "How many do we have available for tonight?" His subordinate replied, "Oh, yes, director. There are 3 half-elves and 6 lymphis." But this only made the director angry, and he shouted at him, "What? Only 3 half-elves? I told you I need a minimum of 5. Seeing the director's behavior, one of the bald guards tried to calm him down. "Relax, director. There's no need to be disappointed like that. The ones available tonight are from Vallum. Hearing those words, the director became calm again and said, "Ha, Vallum? That's right, the half-elves from there are very good. Okay, I'll take them for tonight. Bring them here and don't hurt them even a little." He thanked his subordinates for satisfying him, and they left the room along with Sunio, who had previously been seen in the bar. Sunio asked him casually, "Have you made your decision?" The director replied, "Yes, why?" as he pulled out a slot from his pocket. Sunio then mentioned, "I saw something interesting at the bar yesterday. He's a half-elf, but he was with a strange player." The director was shocked and asked, "A half-elf, you say? Do you have a photo?" He quickly took the photo that Sunio gave him and said, "This is it. I want her brought to me immediately." The director laughed with excitement as he looked at the photo of Kia with Mose. Time passed, and we shift to Mose, who was at Kia's house on a bright morning. Kia served Mose a dish she had made called Symmetro to Al Azaris. As Mose ate the food, he was once again amazed by Kia's skills not only in fighting but also in cooking. While watching Mose eat, Kia said, "Oh, my friends Cyril and Farah will be coming here later. I want to introduce them to you, Mose." However, before Kia could finish her sentence, Laurad suddenly entered her house and yelled, "Mose! Kia!" Startled, Mose sprayed his food, hitting Kia, who was in front of him. "Laurad, what's wrong?" Kia tried to control her frustration, but Laurad explained breathlessly, "There's a big problem. We have to go there right now." After preparing themselves as quickly as possible, Kia, Mose, and Laurad went to a large building that looked like a hospital. However, when they entered, they were surprised to see the situation there. The nurses and doctors were panicking as they treated their patients, and the friends that Kia was going to introduce to Mose were lying in front of them. Besides vomiting blood, the patients writhed and screamed for medicine. When Mose saw the condition of the nearest patient, he suddenly realized something and asked, "Why is his neck like this? Could it be?" Unable to bear the sight of her friend's condition, Kia asked Laurad, "Laurad, what's going on? Say something." Laurad fell silent for a moment, then reluctantly said, "They were forced to take the drugs by those people." Of course, Laurad's words startled Kia and Mose's suspicion turned out to be true. Mose thought to himself, "Pick-up artists. So this is what they do." Besides smuggling illegal drugs into their town, they also force Kia's friends to take them. I will never forgive them, never. After thinking about it and remembering that he had also made a vow, Mose, who had made up his mind, immediately approached Kia. With a very serious expression, Mose said, "I will eliminate all those who caused this. I will do anything to make it happen." Hearing Mose's words, Kia, who was already in tears of hatred because of everything that had happened to her friends, asked him about his seriousness, "Do you swear in the name of Bellica?" Mose replied, "Yes, I swear." Meanwhile, at the Master Circuit, the largest online community in the circuit, two major incidents were causing a stir. The first was All Search, an exploration team formed by the Information Guild, which discovered the sacred treasure after a 9-month search. The name of the sacred treasure they found was the Eye of Dominium Mankind, the left eye of Orpheus, a giant known as the Great Prophet in the past. It was discovered that the new civilization predicted by Orpheus in the past was the players themselves, causing excitement among the players. The second incident was Venetix. If this drug is not removed from the body within 24 hours, severe poisoning symptoms accompanied by seizures will appear, and the effects of the poison cannot be eliminated by any antidote or poison heal. It is known that only high-level alchemists or magicians who have studied the Detox card series can eliminate the effects of this poison. However, most alchemists of that caliber are owned by large corporations, so their prices are very high. And finding a magician is not easy because there are few of them. So the victims have no choice but to rely on the drug. Without wasting any time, Kia and Mose, dressed in trendy clothes, went to the nightclub building mentioned by Laurad. A few moments earlier, While in tears, Laurad explained, Cyril and Farah said they got an invitation from Troll Tunnel. Their birthday is coming up, and their favorite singer will be there, so they were very happy to be invited. But this. I should have stopped them then. Hatred, vengeance, and anger entered Kia's body, mind, and heart simultaneously. There was a name that would be the beginning, the nightclub called Troll Tunnel. On the way to the club, Kia said to Mose, "Thank you for accompanying me, Mose. Let me tell you now, I will tear their bodies apart, even if I have to sell my soul to the devil." Hearing Kia being so serious, Mose responded, "Don't worry, I will never forgive those bastards. They are the ones who anger Lighter." But as they arrived at the nightclub, the two guards at the entrance stopped them, saying, "Stop, you cannot enter because there is a VIP guest today. He rented the entire building for a day, but there is an exception for half-elves. This lady can use all the facilities here for free." Upon hearing this, Mose could not accept it and an argument broke out between them and the guard who insisted on the rules, and Mose who wanted to enter with Kia. However, while they were still debating with the guard, Kia walked past them and entered the club. Seeing this, Mose became more determined to force his way in. When Mose shouted her name, Kia stopped and turned around with a smile, saying, "Don't worry, I will enter and see the situation inside. It won't take long, so wait here." However, Kia's words could not calm Mose's worries. His fist trembled and he couldn't imagine what would happen to Kia if he wasn't with her. Seeing Mose so worried, Kia approached him again and held his hand, saying, "Give me 2 hours. If I don't come back within 2 hours, you can do whatever you want." When Mose saw Kia's eyes full of confidence, he finally understood her intentions. After holding her hand, they parted ways with a sworder's salute. The truth can only be asked of the sword. With that, Kia entered her nightclub, accompanied by Mose's gaze as he escorted her, thinking, "I really want to destroy this place, but for now, I have to wait because I trust her." Apparently, when Kia entered the club, Sunio, who was already inside, also noticed her and continued to watch her, waiting for the right time to approach her. In the midst of the echoing music that almost filled the room, under the glittering lights, young people were dancing, seeking entertainment. In the midst of the crowd of people who had forgotten everything, Kia walked past them, thinking, "Where are the people who made Cyril and Farah like this?" While Kia was thinking about that, Sunio, who had been watching her from the beginning, approached her and said, "Excuse me, did you come alone?" Seeing Sunio's face, Kia thought that he was the drug dealer she saw yesterday when she was with Laurad. Kia immediately changed her attitude and answered politely, "Yes, I came alone and realized that this place is interesting." Without shame, Sunio embraced Kia's waist and said, "Oh, in that case, I will take you around if you want." Of course, Kia was angry and uncomfortable with his behavior and even thought of killing him right then and there, but Kia had to restrain herself for now, as it was not the right time. Kia continued her acting and said, "Really? I would really appreciate it if you would." Sunio smiled, seeing Kia's response. "It looks like she's give a green light." We moved outside the nightclub and saw Mose pacing back and forth, clearly worried about Kia. He was thinking, "Isn't it time now?" She chatted for longer than I expected, and while he was lost in thought, Kia suddenly approached him. Mose quickly approached her and asked, "Are you okay? Did something happen to you?" Kia replied, "I'm okay, but my ears are numb. Maybe you can ask this guy." It turned out that Kia didn't come alone. She brought Sunio with her, who was badly beaten up. Sunio was angry at how he had been treated and threatened them. "Do you know who I am? Let me go now. Do you know how much I have done for the city? Do you think you can just walk away after doing this to me?" However, Mose wasn't intimidated and stared at him blankly. Then, without hesitation, Mose drew his sword and struck Sunio's shoulder. The blow made Sunio, who was tied up, fall and scream in pain. But Mose didn't care and continued to threaten him, "You better answer my question honestly, or I'll make sure you feel the most painful hell." Realizing his situation, Sunio decided to comply with Mose's demands and apologized. He also offered some medicine he had in his pocket. Mose asked, "Raise your head and look here. Did you make this medicine?" Seeing the medicine that Mose was holding, Sunio was surprised, but he didn't want to speak. Mose then threatened him again, "I know what you're planning. Don't try anything, you bastard." Hearing this, Sunio opened his mouth and said, "It was made by a man named Jason. I don't know how to make it." Mose asked, "Jason? Is he also a player?" Sunio confirmed this and said, "Yes, he's a level 57 alchemist who works for Director Choi, a representative director of Anytech." Upon hearing Sunio's explanation, Kia realized something and said, "Anytech? Is that one of the companies managed by the player mentioned earlier?" Sunio continued, "Yes, that's it. I've told you everything I know. If I'm caught spreading this information, I'll be dead when I get back. Please let me go. Please forgive me this time." Although Kia was still angry with Sunio's behavior, she decided to leave him alone. "We've got what we came for. Let's just leave this trash," Kia said as she walked away. Mose followed her and said, "Okay, let's go." While Sunio was still thinking about killing them both, Mose suddenly stopped walking. Actually, Sunio had made some mistakes, and Mose wanted to make sure he didn't take revenge later. "You have to accept what you deserve, right?" Mose said strangely as he walked towards Sunio, staring at him intently. On the other hand, in one of the rooms at the nightclub, there was someone who looked extremely angry, even after having a few drinks. The person they were waiting for hadn't shown up yet. What has he been doing all this time? I gave him a little leeway, and this is what he does? Seeing his boss so upset, the bald guard next to him tried to calm him down. "You don't need to rush. It will be yours soon, Director." Instead of calming down, Director Choi became even angrier. "You bastard, now tell me, when will that happen? Why don't you answer, huh? Do you think I haven't been waiting? Do you think that's enough to make a good medicine? Why do I have to wait so long for you to make it? And now I have to wait for this too." Despite being treated like that, the bald guard could still keep his patience. "I'm sorry, Director. I'll find someone to speed up the production process." Director Choi, who was already angry with him, continued his rant. "Get out of my sight. You always talk nonsense without doing anything, and why are you still here? Go. Do you want to be a guild pickup artist? Go now, you insects. Where is that bastard?" After all the waiters and guards left, Director Choi went back to drinking his drink. Switching to Sunio, who was sitting under a tree mumbling something, the bald guard finally found him after searching with his two subordinates. Seeing Sunio in that condition, the bald guard had no choice but to give him an expensive potion so that Sunio could explain the situation. After Sunio had calmed down enough, although his body was still trembling, he explained, "A half-elf woman and a player appeared suddenly." Hearing his explanation, the bald guard thought, a half-elf woman and a player? Weren't they what Director Choi was talking about earlier? They must not be far away. So the bald guard gave orders to his two subordinates, contact the people in the village and destroy everything using Azarus. They must pay for what they did to us. This is war. A few moments later, riots broke out in a burning village, with many people injured on the streets, and Mose was shocked by the situation. He heard Kia shouting and immediately approached her. "Those bastards, I won't let them." It turned out that Kia shouted angrily after seeing a message on a wall that read, "Come to the troll tunnel if you want to save these two little fairies." Of course, that ignited Mose's anger. Damn them, is it because they're after us that they're threatening the village like this? That also ignited the fire within him. The video ended with Kia saying, "I'll never forgive them. I swear on Redania, I'll chop them into tiny pieces without any regrets. Let's go, Mose, to the troll tunnel."